Alright, folks. Let's kick off. We're a couple minutes early, but that's fine. Welcome to Quaranstream 4. I'm getting better, which is good. Alas, it does mean that probably after this week, the Quaranstreams will end. Hey, Squid, this is not XCOM. It shouldn't say it's XCOM. It's Dominions 5. I told YouTube it was Dominions 5. Is it not Dominions 5 on YouTube? Also, I've tried turning down the latency on the stream in an effort to ensure that we have a little bit closer to real-time interaction, but I'm looking at the preview, and it doesn't look like that's actually happening. It looks like we're still pretty lagged, unfortunately. Well, we'll see how it goes. In any case, today we are going to be talking about the three newest nations in Dominions 5. Ind, Naba, and now Vettihime. Excuse me, stretch. Suddenly shows only regional mainstream content. I don't know what to say about that. So, none of these nations have I done basic nation analysis videos on yet. I will do, like, standard videos in addition to this at some point, just so that I can have it in the playlist and it'll be easy to access. Right now, this is just kind of me going through stuff, taking questions, requests. I can look at other nations if y'all are interested. This is kind of relaxed. I'm not looking to burn myself out on anything here. But Stealing Hades. Have I ever thought about playing a DE game? I've thought about it. I've had it recommended to me a lot, but to be honest, I'm not super interested in DE. In my opinion, Dominions 5 native is already big and complicated enough. I mean, look at this shit. Like, this is just one age, and then you go to, like, the early age, and it's just as big, and then you go to the late age, and it's smaller, but still, even late age, this is a huge list. There's a ton of shit in Dominions 5. Dominions Enhanced adds a bunch of shit on top of that, and I just don't feel like it's necessary, you know what I mean? I'm just not super interested. So, let's talk about, well, I guess actually, let's talk about them in reverse order. Let's talk about Vettihime first. Because Vettihime is the new guys, they're the ones that I just played, so they're fresh in my memory. It's an interesting nation. I don't know that, especially in late age, it's actually a super powerful nation. There are things about it that are powerful, but it also has a lot of very obvious and very simple counters, if that makes sense. So, Vettihime, it's a Jotun type nation, a northern type nation, so cold resistant, prefers cold scales +2. They've got good magic paths to have access to, but their access is kind of fragmented in less useful ways than you would think. And they have cheap labs in Forest, which is also where you can get Vettihags, which is very, very handy, because Vettihags are cheap and cheerful little one-path sorcery mages, can be very good. Silver, do the Gobos have enough DACA? Yes, they do, because they have the cheapest crossbowmen in the game, pretty much. So, here's the thing about Vettihime. First of all, they have primitive forts, which is kind of a problem. Not that you're going to build a lot of citadels during the game, probably, but you will, at least if you don't have primitive forts, start with a citadel, which means you can get a mage and a half or a mage and a commander out of your capital every turn. That is actually an advantage. It does stack up. And, of course, higher level forts also get you more income and more resources, so they can concentrate more, amass more stuff, and shit out more troops. Having primitive forts is definitely a problem for Vettihime. Just because I wish you could pump out even more of their mages. And, of course, more of their troops. And the troops are definitely the stars of this nation. Like, okay, so commander-wise, Vetti Jarl, 50 gold for a leadership 60 commander who is stealthy. Fine. Absolutely fine. Can only move one province per turn, which is a little bit of a problem, maybe, but overall, Vetti Jarls, good beans. Vetti Hers, much faster, also stealthy, snow move, cold resistant. I think this guy also has snow move. No, he does not have snow move, so only the wolves do. But snow move, cold resistant, stealthy, great. Forest survival, fantastic. 50 gold, yeah, absolutely. This guy's a good commander. He's not a good leader, but he's a good commander. The Vetti God is basically the same person, but he's also Holy One, Nature One. So this guy's kind of your natural, like, expansion leader, and if you're expanding with Sacred, with Rimvetti. And he can cast Swarm and stuff. He's not super expensive, honestly. In Magic 3 scales, you could even use this guy as a primary researcher if you wanted to. And, of course, he can summon wolves. I mean, standard wolves are pretty shit, but he can do it if he wants to. And he's a Beastmaster, so he can lead wolves very effectively. If you are summoning lots of Jotun wolves, like I was in the stream when I was memeing at the end after I'd lost, basically, then Vettigods are a pretty good person to lead them. He's just a little goblin dude. He's fine. All their commanders pretty solid for their job. It's when you get into the mage line that you start to run into trouble. Vettihime. I want to like this mage. I do. But the problem is, you look at this mage and you know what this mage is? This mage is a middle-aged Machaka sorcerer, but small and weak in exchange for stealth. That's basically what this is. I mean, look, 190 gold, 4 paths. 190 gold for 4 paths is okay efficiency. Yes, I'm ignoring... priest level 1, okay, priest level 1 matters. So yeah, it's a priest. 4 levels plus a level of holy, 190 gold. That's not terrible. The chassis is pretty shit. Like, battlefield clears are going to annihilate this mage. Ranged attacks are going to annihilate this mage. Basically anything. Air elementals attacking the back line, gonna wipe it out super quick. It does have the slap attack, which of course is enormously powerful, and we should all just tremble in fear of the ferocious goblin slap. But still, even so, 190 gold is kind of expensive for this. For comparison, let's actually look at... not Mechtlin. Oh god, my eyes must not... This is late age, of course, that's my problem. Let's look at middle age... Machaka. If we look at Machaka sorcerers, 195 gold, but they get 5 paths. They're not priests, but they start with N2. They have death, they have fire. Fire and water, I think, are fairly interchangeable, to be totally honest, in terms of basic utility. If anything, fire may be slightly better. And they can go up to Nature 3, so they can go up to a level 3 in a path. Hey, Herdalas. So, like, I would almost rather have these guys than, the Vettihime. They're just not great. They are stealthy, which is nice. And they're good, like, you know, point buffers. Like, I've certainly used them for that. And that was what I was experimenting with in the stream, and it works a treat right up until the point when someone starts dropping air elementals on you. But that's about all they're good for. They can occasionally be blood mages. 20% of them are blood mages, 20% are astral. So later on in the game, you can cobble together a communion, which mitigates their weaknesses a lot. But still, or yeah, in the same age, for comparison, you also have, Utgard. Not Utgard, sorry, Midgard, paying 190 gold for Galderman, who are an amazing mage. Just absolutely an incredible mage. Air 2, regeneration, 2 randoms out of basically a hand-curated selection of the most powerful paths in the game. Yeah, these guys are incredible, and they're for the same price as these ladies, who are absolutely not incredible. Very mediocre. So you got them. You've got Rimvetti. Rimvetti are, and I've had this discussion several times with different people, and I maintain my position. Rimvetti are fucking worthless. Okay, here's the problem. They're capital only. So you're not recruiting your capital only mages or even just a regular mage while you're recruiting Rimvetti. They're slow. They have combat speed 11, so they just have to waddle across the assassination floor, getting hit by spells. They have fantastic melee weapons, sure, but they also have 9 hit points and 4 protection, which means that even if they get into melee, anybody with a higher combat speed, a slightly higher than average combat speed, has decent odds to hit them and just straight up kill them before they can even use the Dusk Dagger and the Poison Dagger. These guys are bad, and they cost 100 gold. Way more than a standard assassin, while not honestly being appreciably better than a standard assassin. They are very stealthy, which, fine, that's nice. But paying 100 gold for an incredibly stealthy scout, not value. Not value at all. If I wanted to assassinate with Vettihime, I would rather make a black heart and give it to a Vettihag who randomed nature. Or actually, honestly, any of these randoms except for the astral could make for a perfectly functional assassin. I would rather give a black heart to a Vettihag than I would recruit a Rimvetti. Rimvetti suck. Jotun Gigyas are good mages. These ladies are strong. They have excellent base paths, and then they have 2 randoms out of a pretty strong selection of paths. The only real problem with them is that they have this water random. The water random actively hurts them. This makes them less useful, because the water random takes up space that otherwise would have been dedicated to giving them more astral death, nature, or blood. If they just had the astral death, nature, blood, like, I think Niflheim Gigya still have just those randoms, right? Hold on, let me check. Because I know that changed, a lot of things changed recently. Yeah, if they were just Niflheim Gigya that paid extra gold to be sacred, they would be so much better. Because Niflheim Gigya are strong. Like, this is an excellent mage right here. 225 gold for a giant with these paths, yeah, fine, fantastic. But when you go into the late age, you know, you have Vettihime gets the shitty knockoff Jotun Gigya that comes with the water randoms that screw up its pathing, and it costs more because it's sacred, and it has slightly less HP for no real reason. I think because it's older. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's older than the old Gigya were. Axel, any reason for the water added? I have no idea. I guess because they're kind of like taking over the thematic space that the Scrati had, but the Scrati have, of course, gone with Utgard, right? Utgard still gets the Scrati. Yeah, Utgard gets the Jotun Scrati. So they used to have Scrati, then the Scrati split off, went with Utgard, so now they have the water randoms for no real reason. And they just kind of get in the way, because water, let's be honest, is not a super powerful path in most cases. Like, maybe you could use it to cast Woven Winter, but you don't even get it high enough to actually cast Woven Winter on anybody. So you have to use items to do that, which means you're waiting until at least Construction 6, because the Robe of the Sea King takes Water 3, and the bracelet doesn't come until Construction 6, so you're waiting until mid-game to even do that. Beyond that, it's just not very important. So Joseph makes a point. It does allow them to cast Foul Vapors, sure, but you don't need these ladies to do that, because you have the Vetti Gigya. The Vetti Gigya already start with water and nature, so any of them who just random nature can cast Foul Vapors right off the top. These ladies you need to be Blood Death Mages, basically, because these people are, some of them are very weak Blood Death Mages, but not many. Jotun Gigya are all Blood Death Mages, and you can easily get Death 2 or Blood 2, or even Blood 3, Death 3 in pretty much any combination if you keep crapping these ladies out of your capital. So that's what you need Jotun Gigya for, and the water just gets in the way. Beyond that, they're fine, but paying 300 gold for 5 paths plus Sacred, once again, a little tiny bit expensive. And then you have the Vettihags. Vettihags are unironically probably Vettihime's best mage in terms of value. 40 gold for a path. It's a pretty good path selection. Even the water ones at 40 gold, you can afford to dedicate these ladies just to spamming Frozen Heart in the late game, or lesser water elementals or something. They can point buff, they can cast basic spells, they can blood hunt once you've recruited enough of them and gotten some blood randoms. These ladies are fine. They're great. Like, sure, 40 gold, you take Magic 3, they have 8 research points for 40 gold. Absolutely fine. Just churn them out of forests with your cheap forest labs. That's probably the best part of the mage lineup, is Vettihags. So, mage-wise then, Vettihime is actually pretty weak. Like, or rather, Vettihime is mediocre in the late age era when mages are actually really, really scary. In late age, your competition is, you know, Galderman. It's Sith Connor. It's Angakoks. It's all of these really, really powerful, efficient mages in the late age. Pangea has, astral communions from their centaur sages, and they have pans who are still powerful. Ulm has the black priests and the fortune tellers and their blood mages, the members of the second tier. There's all kinds of really powerful magic floating around in the late age, lots of powerful communions, lots of multipath mages, and Vettihime is stuck with these kind of shitty mages, and it's a real problem. Troop-wise, Vettihime's fantastic. Vetti archers are incredibly cheap for shortbow archers, and stealthy. Their light Vetti infantry and Vetti spearmen are value for what you get. Vetti crossbowmen are incredible value. I mean, they're pygmy crossbows. That's what these guys are. They're Hoberg crossbows, whatever you want to call it. The only problem with them is their low morale, which is difficult to mitigate because you don't get fire, which is the path that has the most morale-boosting items, but you can still mitigate it to some degree, and you can shit out literally 100 Vetti crossbowmen for cheaper than anybody else in the game, and just wipe everybody out. Like, Vetti crossbowmen, very good, plus they're stealthy. It's amazing. Axel, aren't mages supposed to be weak in the late age? Well, I mean, they're weaker in the sense that they have lower top paths. So you don't have many people in the late age who have, like, level 4 in something like you did in the early age. But they have wide path spreads, and there's a lot more astral and a lot more blood floating around. So in the late age, it's smaller mages communioning is the main theme, as opposed to big mages casting spells, like, all by themselves. Actually, personally, in the late age, I think that mages on average are better than in any other age. I mean, like, you have the Chthonian Reanimator, 135 gold for Death 2, Earth 1. That's a fantastic mage. You've got, like I said, Utgard, Bogarus, Gath, Raga. Raga's mages are a little bit expensive. Late age Shibalba still has the good mages. They've still got Weob. They've still got Kamazots. They've got these Chilan, who are not bad. They're kind of pricey. But even Shibalba, which is widely regarded as a pretty terrible nation, has decent mages in the late age. Erythia has strong mages. Most nations in the late age have strong mages. The exceptions are the nations that suck. Joman has pretty bad mages in the late age, and they suck because of it. Kalim's mages aren't terrible. Harab Seraphs are actually pretty solid. Harab Elders, yeah, I mean, even Harab Elders, look, they get 6 paths plus Holy 2 for 305, and they fly. So, like, yeah, they're still pretty okay. Late Age Abyssia has, finally, they actually have, like, Blood Hunters, not the Newts, the Sanguine Acolytes. Like, this is a very solid mage, just because it's an 85 gold Sacred Blood Hunter. Fantastic. All of these, and the things that can only be recruited in the capital, Warlock Apprentices and Warlocks, yeah, okay, they're still cap only, but they're not slow to recruit, and you have Blood Hunters elsewhere, so Late Age Abyssia is by far the strongest mage lineup of the Abyssia line. But to get back to Vettihime, yes, Sopbucket, Pythium is sad, but that's just Pythium. Actually, Pythium's a lot better now than it used to be, I believe. I know Pythium got changed recently. I hadn't really talked about that too much, but, because they made... Yeah, so the Serpent Priest, the Theurg, and the Serpent Lord are all still cap only. They made Serpent Assassins, a lot more accessible. Serpent Assassins, you may note, are cheaper than Dimvetti, faster than Dimvetti, are sacred like Dimvetti are not, have a patrol bonus and can scale walls, and they have a magic weapon that is just as powerful, if not slightly more powerful. All for, so, faster, better, sacred, for 25 less gold. And not cap only. This is a decent assassin. Dimvetti are not decent assassins. And yeah, they got path boosts in some of their mages. So yeah, Pythium, better than they used to be, certainly. They used to be absolute dog shit. Now they're, like, probably pretty okay, I think. But to get back to Vettihime, so their troop lineup, amazing. Vetti crossbowmen, very solid. Vetti, very, very solid. High protection, decent defense skill, 6 per square with a broadsword attack, very solid. Vetti berserkers. Vetti berserkers are incredibly good. 12 gold for a 21 damage attack with berserk on a stealthy chassis. That comes 6 per square. Hell yes, I will take 50, please. And, of course, because they are Vetti, they take point buffing really well, so you can drop Body Ethereal on these guys. Body Ethereal, Bark Skin, Quickness, and these guys will mulch absolutely anything with their 12 attacks per square. Wolf Riders and Wolf Brothers, to be honest, I don't think are very good. Wolf Riders, they're just kind of expensive. Here's the thing. They're fast and they're stealthy, yes, and they have 2 attacks, but they're also only 3 per square. So their attack density actually isn't higher than other Vetti units, and their attack quality is lower, because their strength is low. Like, they have strength 9, whereas Vetti Berserkers have strength 10. Here Vetti have strength 9, but they have swords which have high damage. Wolf Riders use spears and the bite attack, and they're both quite low damage, so Wolf Riders hit less hard than your other units. They're not particularly tougher, they're not particularly more useful in any real way, and they are expensive. Axel, you can definitely ambush people as Vettihime, but I wouldn't use wolves to do it, because I would use berserkers, because Vetti berserkers can launch an ambush that will actually mulch people down, whereas wolf riders, not necessarily. You also have wolf brothers, who are slightly better and have some armor, but they cost 20 gold. And 32 recruitment points. So, like, this is up to the point where you're competing with actual heavy cavalry, and they can't compete with actual heavy cavalry. So, here's the thing with Wolf Brothers and Wolf Riders, right? There's 2 things that make cavalry valuable. Well, 3 things, I guess. High prot, high defense score, and high damage attacks, specifically impact attacks. So let's, for example, look at the Wolf Rider, 15 gold, 18 recruitment points. Okay, it's cheap. Let's actually look at the Wolf Brother. The Wolf Brother has some armor, but not a whole lot. 20 gold, 32 recruitment points, spear and bite, so 12 and 10 damage. Now look at, like, a good heavy cavalry unit. Let's look at Bogarus, at the Malaya Drugina. 40 gold, so twice as expensive, sure. 46 recruitment points, actually pretty close. 18 protection, much more. Better stat line all around, of course. 16 defense skill, the same. Lance attack, with the charge bonus for first strike, which will be up to half the strength of the charging unit, so an extra 6 damage on the lance. That makes this a 25 piercing damage hit, plus the broadsword, plus the hoof. So in terms of, upon contact, Malaya Drugina crush people with extremely high piercing damage. Then in melee combat, they actually have the same number of attacks per unit as Wolf Brothers, and the attacks are way higher quality. They do more damage, and they come in at higher attack values. Malaya Drugina will absolutely annihilate Wolf Brothers at 2 or 3 to 1 odds, with no trouble. Oh, Wolf Riders are worse Barb Heavy Horse? No. They're not even worth comparing to Barb Heavy Horse. Let's look at Wolf Riders, 15, 18, you know, the shitty Vetti stat line across the board. 14 defense skill, 8 prot, 12, 11. Let's look at Barb Heavy Horse, shall we? Let's pull up Tianqi. Barbarian Heavy Horseman, 20 gold, barely more expensive. 24 recruitment points, barely more expensive. 15 prot, 15 defense skill, superior in both regards. Lance, so once again, it's a 24 damage charge hit. Falchion, hoof, plus they have a bow attack if you want that, and they're actually faster. Barbarian Heavy Horsemen kick the shit out of wolves in every possible way. And you might think, so Tor Nielsen just mentioned, you might want to compare Wolf Brothers to light cavalry. Nah, Barbarian Horsemen are light cavalry. Barbarian Horsemen still kick the crap out of Wolf Brothers because they still have the lance. Heraldus, the sustained number of attacks per square from Bulgarus Cav is lower, yes, because the wolves get an extra guy. I actually said number of attacks per unit, which is the same. The Bulgarus Cav are, of course, larger. Even so, Wolf Brothers are not good, and neither are Wolf Riders. And you can compare them to any heavy cavalry in this age. Modernyon actually has no heavy cavalry. You could look at Raga, look at the, like the Savaran Cataphracts. They're a lot more expensive, but once again, they're much higher quality. Or look at the Turin Horse Archers or the Turin Cavalry, which are a lighter unit. Once again, they've got the lance, they got the hoof attack. That's the problem. The problem just is, these guys don't have the advantages of cavalry. They don't have the lance, they don't have the sustainability. So they're not good. You might be able, if someone isn't paying attention, to use them to like swoop around a flank and kill mages, but honestly, if someone's leaving their mages so exposed that fucking wolf riders with their tiny little spear and bite attacks can overrun the mage line, they're probably going to lose the battle anyway. Also, for reference, Jomon, the samurai cavalry, the samurai cavalry are still better. They still have the lance, they have the katana, and they have much higher prot. Yes, even Jomon has better cavalry than Vettihime. Okay, so now I'm done dunking on the cavalry. The cavalry is basically the only bad thing in the goblin lineup. Like, everything from here to here is fantastic except for the cavalry. Then you get to the sacreds, the Rimvetti. Rimvetti are actually really solid. I didn't use them much in the stream, but they deserve to be used. So, yes, the worst thing about the Wolf Cav is how bad their attacks are. Their attacks do so little damage, they just can't really kill things. Progressor, yes, the Wolf Riders do have the reduced harassment penalty, but even so. So, Rimvetti. Expensive for infantry, but decent prot and defense skill, built-in magic weapons, which is definitely a plus, and they have ice protection too, so in Cold 3, which is what you should be fighting in hopefully most of the time, they're actually protection 20. And protection 20 on a size 1 unit is really good. There's also two other facts about them that are super important. One, they have cold power, which means their strength goes up, and their, what else is it? I think it's strength attack skill. I forget exactly what it is that cold power boosts. It's distressingly vague always, and I haven't checked in the last few days. But they become significantly harder to deal with in Cold 3 because their stats increase. Their precision, I know, goes up, although it doesn't matter for them. And they have Chill Aura. Chill Aura 5. Now, here's the reason why that's super important. They're size 1, which means they stack 6 per square. Which means, if you get 6 Rimvetti in a square attacking somebody, that somebody is going to freeze to death in very short order. Like, they'll freeze to the point that they actually can't take actions within 2 or 3 combat rounds unless they have cold resistance. Because what this Chill Aura does is it causes fatigue. So 6 Rimvetti in a square will push everyone facing them up over 100 fatigue in pretty short order. Much less if you have 12 or 18 or 24 or 36 or 48. Just in a line. Everyone facing that line will freeze very quickly. That being so, yes, strength, attack skill, defense skill, and yes, precision, I believe. So all of these, in Cold 3, these guys are strength 13, attack 15, defense 18. Which makes them incredibly tough, and prot 20. They're hard to deal with. What that means is, the way you want to play with Rimvetti is, you make them as tanky as possible, and you just let the Chill Aura do the work. In Cold 3, incidentally, Chill Auras are more effective in Cold, so you want to be fighting in the Cold just as much as possible with these guys, and not fighting in Heat 3. In Heat 3, Rimvetti are not worthless, but pretty bad, because their proc goes down to 8, and if I recall correctly, I think their other stats are also decreased by heat. So, yeah, in hot provinces, they're a waste of money. In cold provinces, they're fantastic. What I'm thinking, looking at these guys, if you're building a Bless for Rimvetti, I'm thinking defensive primarily. They do obviously get wiped out by evocations. I'll talk about that more in a second, because that's kind of a general theme throughout Vettihime. But yeah, in melee combat, in Cold 3, with a little bit of a defensive bless on them, they're really solid. I might give them magic resistance, I might give them... I'm not sure what other bless you might... Honestly, luck. I would probably give them a luck bless, if you can afford it. Or Twist Fate. Twist Fate is a solid choice as well. But that kind of, think that kind of thing. Now, of course, most of the defensive blessings you can actually emulate very effectively, because you can just, once you hit Alteration 3 or 4, you can just cast those spells out of your mages, out of your Vettihags and your Vettigigya. That is really the thing that Vettigigya and Vettihags are unusually good for. But you might want to have them without having to deploy mages, or as many mages. So, yeah, Twist Fate, Barkskin, those kinds of defensive blessings on Rimvetti are solid choices. You have Moose Riders. That's all I'm going to say about that. You also have Jotun Hurlers and Jotun Axemen. Jotun Axemen are, I would say, bad. I don't think you need Jotun Axemen. They do have very high protection, which is kind of nice. High protection, high hit points, but they cost a lot. They're cap-only troops. They're vulnerable to shock damage. And their stat line outside of that is not super superior. Recruiting Jotun Hurlers for sieges, I think, is defensible, because they have almost 10 siege strength each, so spending 3 gold per point of siege strength is pretty high value. So, yeah, getting some Jotun Hurlers to knock down walls, which your goblins struggle with, sure. Axemen, no. Mooses, no. I wouldn't. And to be honest, like, okay, the Axemen have a lot of damage with their axes, sure, but just get Vetti Berserkers. I mean, the damage is a little lower, but who cares? It's over 20. And you can have almost 3 Vetti Berserkers for the cost of 1 Jotun Axeman. It's absolutely worth getting the little boys. Now, the elephant in the room when it comes to Vettihime is evocation magics. And evocation is what you hate, because all your guys are 6 to a square. If somebody hits you with Falling Fires, or Thunderstrike, or Gifts from Heaven, etc., etc., anything that kills an army kills a Vetti army twice as fast. And what that basically means is Vettihime, despite having a very, very strong troop lineup, Vettihime may really struggle to win battles, like big stack fights where you have 200 or 300 troops on each side. I think Vettihime most of the time is going to get blown out during those fights, just because the other guy will bring somebody capable of casting a spell. And it's not just evocations either, it's also summons. The big obvious one, air elementals. Vettihime has literally no recourse against air elementals in their basic troop lineup. Rimvetti can work pretty well against air elementals. They have the magic weapons, and they're tough enough with a little bit of support to survive the trample attacks. But beyond that, they struggle. Like, your Berserkers, which otherwise are top-tier troops, air, or for that matter, fire elementals will burn through them in no problem. Your crossbows, 0 time. A single air elemental can destroy a squadron of Vetti crossbowmen immediately, just by trampling them 6 at a time and forcing morale checks, which cause them to rout. Your Hirdvetti, which otherwise are very, very solid frontliners, once again, fire elementals, air elementals, even earth elementals. Like, normally I don't recommend using earth elementals. Against Vetti, earth elementals might be efficient, because they can just trample into the goblins, kill 6 or 12 or 18 of them in short order before they die. It will be problematic. Herdalas, attack large orders don't target size 4. They only target size 5 or 6. So attack large does not work against Jotun Gigyas. Or at least it won't preferentially target Jotun Gigyas. If you order someone to attack large, and the only people who are on the field are size 4 or smaller, it will default to attack at random. At least as far as I know. So, that's Vettihime. Strong troop lineup with some very, very obvious weaknesses. Weak mage lineup. Stealth all the way across the board. In terms of gem income, they've got Death, Astral, and Nature. In terms of what you want to do with this nation, it's interesting. What you really want to do with this nation is elf people. You want to take provinces from stealth before they really know their war. Cripple their ability to fight back. And do as much damage as you can, as quickly as you can. Because once the enemy get their shit together and get their army aimed at your army, you might be in trouble. Despite being so high quality, these guys are just so... They have such simple, obvious weaknesses that they're pretty easy to run over. I was pretty sure that attack large is only size 5 and 6. I could be wrong. Here, I'll tell you what. Why don't we... we could run a test. Tell you what, let's run a test here. Actually, I need to... I already have gods set up for Vettihime. So, let's... How will I do this? Let's create a world. And let's actually set up the... Let's get the debug mod on. Really? Did they change it to size 4? Okay, so I heard it was size 5 and 6. Probably 6 months ago now. So unless that's been changed, that should have been one of those. But like I said, let's check. We'll just do, like... Yeah, this is fine. Will be Vettihime, and they'll be, let's say, Tianchi. Okay, and Point of Astral. Alright, so we're gonna run the test. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a whole bunch of archers pulled together. Just probably base... yeah, I'll go ahead and do Barbarian Heavy Horsemen because they're... Well, maybe not. I don't have the resources for it. But let's contact debug senseis and recruit a bajillion squintillion archers. Well, actually, what I'm going to do, Rovsi, is I'm just gonna see if they preferentially target the size 4s. That's the only thing I'm really interested in seeing right now. Contact debug senseis and start recruiting a whole bunch of, like, light Vetti infantry. And we'll get a couple of Jotun Gigya. Okay, host a few turns. So, now I need to see where everybody is. Let's cast... You should have been contacting debug sensei every turn. Let's cast... Eyes of Debug. Still recruiting archers, good. And you, let's cast... Super Wish for gems a couple of times. Alright. So. Where is Vettihime? There it is, all the way down. Ah, damn it, we're across the world from each other. Boy, tell you what. Let's just... Yeah, let's just start marching towards each other, I guess. Once we meet, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get, you know, a bunch of guys, and we'll see if they preferentially target the Gigyas, the size 4 Gigyas in the back, over the squadrons in front. Why did I quit out? Okay. Just start getting Barbarian Heavy Horse real quick. Yeah, Barbarians. What do you think? Can 49 archers kill 30 Barbarians? Let's find out. See, Vetti are just so good at moving. Yeah, I know, I've seen the testing map. But I don't actually have it. I don't have it downloaded. So, not super worried about it. In fact, what I could do is I could just empower these whatever, fuck it. What might be easier? Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I don't have the arena map. I don't. I don't actually have a lot of maps downloaded. Is the arena map on Steam? Let me see if it's on Steam. Look, guys, I never said I was good at this. Alright, let me see if I can get it real quick. Workshop. There we go. Let's subscribe to that. Nah, Hair to Loss, don't feel bad about it. This is exactly the kind of thing that it's good to actually find out and confirm. I think I have to restart before I can get it, though, so... Hold on. Pretty sure I have to restart the game. We're still live, it's just black, I know. Let me get the game relaunched. Okay, now I have Arena. Great. Screen will come back in just a moment, never fret. There we go. Alright, so... We've got Vettihime, we've got TC. We need an astral point. Yep, I don't care. Ah, fuck it. I forgot a critical portion of the effort, which was to set both nations to human. Yes, and yes. Okay. So let's contact Debug Sensei and start getting some Barbarian Heavy Horse. And over here in Vettihime, let's contact the Debug Sensei and start recruiting Jotun Gigya, and let's just do, yeah, Vetti Spearman. I get really tired of pressing the wrong button when I'm just moving too fast. That's not the right one either. You ever get the feeling that you're, everything you're doing is just kind of a comedy of errors? There we go. And you are going to... Super wish for gems. I'm just going to pull up a whole bunch of Debug Senseis in case we want to test anything else while we're here. Alright. Alright, so we've hosted a whole bunch of... Fuck. We've hosted a whole bunch of turns. And we got a whole bunch of boys. Tons of lads. Keep recruiting, you dumbass. Didn't tell you to stop. We've also spawned a ghost. Nice. So, we're gonna move in there. Kenshi has not stopped recruiting. Great, so now they've got a whole bunch of horse archers, and I'm going to split those horse archers into 2 squads. So this is going to be just a very, very rough and ready test. What we're going to do is... So we've captured the land arena. We've got a whole bunch of guys in there, right? Gonna set them on hold and attack, and we're gonna set these guys on, yeah, hold and attack as well. They're very small. Then we're going to move up a Jotun Gigya, and we're going to have the Jotun Gigya set a little ways back, but still within composite bow range, well away from the troops. Also, to maximize shooting potential, we're going to break these guys up into the maximum possible number of squads. So we've got the maximum possible number of squads down here, along with the commander. We've got the Jotun Gigya on the other side, who is just going to hold and then cast spells. Sure. Meanwhile, Tianqi has... let's say 4 squads that are all going to be scripted to hold and fire large monsters, and they're all going to be down here. So they will be closer to the goblins. So hopefully they should, if possible, if they're not deliberately targeting the Gigya, they should shoot at the Vetti. Whereas if attack large means shoot at the size 4, they should pretty much all shoot at the Gigya, because the Gigya is the only size 4 target. So let's see what happened. Yeah, they're shooting at the Vetti. Now, the Gigya might be out of range. Composite bows have range 40, so I don't think she's out of range, but she might be. It's possible. And hilariously, Vettihime actually won that battle by killing the general. Okay, let me run the test again, because, like I said, she might have been out of range, so we're going to move her down there. We've got another mess of troops. We'll send up another... Actually, we won't send up another Gigya. We'll send up this guy. Our god. And Tianchi, let's... Yeah, we've got another few of them. Okay, let's actually just start doing foot archers because we can recruit more of them. Alright. An unexpected event. Nice, a circus. No, attack large is quite specific. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, attack large or fire large. Fire large enemy monsters. It targets one random large enemy and their squad. So, what I've been told, and what I believe is, by large it means size 5 or size 6. We're testing what the lower cutoff is, because I don't think it includes size 4. So we're gonna script these guys to fire at large enemy monsters. So if there is a valid target within range, which is a large monster, which I think means size 5 or 6, they should preferentially target that squad over any other targets. Alright, we're going to move them up, just so that we're sure they're within range. We're going to send him up here. He's just going to hold and stay behind troops. Meanwhile, in Vettihime, these troopos, we've got them broken up into a variety of squads, all on hold and attack orders. They're all going to be right up here, doing their goblin thing. And then we have the Gigya off to the side, where it should be clear if they're shooting at her. Right up there. Alright? So let's watch the battle and see what happens. Okay. So one squad is shooting at her, and one squad isn't. That might be range, then. That might be range. Let's set the... Let's show the grid real quick. Okay, that might be range constraints. So actually, yes, size 4 might count for attack large orders. You can see that falling fires really put paid to those all those Vetti up there, intradastingly. Okay, so yes, actually it looks like size 4 does count for attack large orders. Good to know. Like I said, I thought it was only 5 or 6. So in any case, that's a that is something worth noting. That could be a factor. And yeah, in that case, then maybe having a few of the giants around could be useful, but I still would only ever recruit hurlers. I wouldn't ever recruit Jotun Axemen. I don't see a reason for them. If that's your concern, you can just use Jotun hurlers. Just say size 3 certainly does not count. Size 3 is normal human size. And attack large does not count size 3. It is not anyone larger than you. It's a specific size cutoff. So, that's Vettihime. Am I sure it wasn't just random chance? No, I'm not sure. The odds of it being random chance are fairly low, but it's still possible. I mean, there were, I think, like 8 total squads, counting commanders, on the field there. So, it could have been random chance. I'm not going to take the time to do, like, really super detailed, involved testing right now. I was just checking to see if it was consistent, or if it happened, rather. Herdalas, yes, a lot of the size resist effects can be resisted by size 4, but it should be noted that stuff like nets, it's size 5 or 6, or sometimes only size 6, are the ones that have a 100% chance to resist it. In any case, leaving that aside. Horsemen are size 3, yes. Oh, okay, interesting. So, according to the manual, it's size 5 or 6, but if there's none of them around, then a size 4 will be targeted. Okay. That's worth noting. So in that case, one of the ways to stop it would be to summon a Dark Vines or some other size 6 creature, and use that to suck up the targeting. Interesting. Okay. Worth noting. So, that's Vettihime. Strong troop lineup. Some very, very simple and easy to manipulate weaknesses. Pretty poor mage line. In terms of gods, Vettihime doesn't really need help expanding, so I wouldn't necessarily take a monster. If you're worried about research, I would take a Great Sage. Otherwise, I would probably lean towards either an Immobile or a Bog Mummy. Bog Mummies are expensive for what you get, but they do give you Death Blood, which can get you into vampires in the late game, and they're immortal, so you don't have to worry so much about them dying. You still can't send them in against people who can soul slay, but they can be handy in that way. I like having immortal gods, if for no other reason than because you can use them to put up globals, and somebody has to soul slay them for the global to go down, which is nice. So, Bog Mummy I think is an okay choice. Immobiles would be a solid choice. The Son of Nephil does free spawn Winter Wolves, which is kind of hilarious. I don't know that it's worth taking the Son of Nephil as your god for that reason, but if you want Winter Wolves are cool. Axel, you can always use more research. And especially because, like I said, your mage core is kind of crap. So having that research edge might be the thing that lets you get to your rush to your research target before your enemy gets the things that really destroy your boys. Like, for example, let's talk about what your research goals might be. In terms of what you need to win a war, you've got water, you've got death, you've got nature. You can have up to 2 in any of those pretty easily. You can have a little bit of blood. You can have a little bit of astral. Conjuration, as weird as it may sound, I still have debug mod on. Hold on, let me cancel debug mod because it screws up the spells. As weird as it may seem to say, I don't necessarily think that Conjuration is an early target for you. Conjuration in nature does give you Howl, which is a good spell. And it does give you Brood of Garm, which is a pretty good spell. But Brood of Garm, those guys aren't stealthy, so you may not want them early on. Otherwise, Conjuration at early levels doesn't give you a whole lot that's super useful. I mean, Conjuration in S gives you Power of the Spheres at level 3. That can be useful, but not necessarily for very early strategies. Death gives you, honestly, very little up until level 5 or 6. Nature gives you plenty of chaff, but you don't really need chaff. You have cheap chaff of your own. That's much higher quality. Blood, of course, has no spells here. Water in Conjuration, most of these can only be used underwater. School of Sharks, Sea Serpent, Kraken. You do get lesser water elementals and full-size water elementals, but it's hard for you to summon full-size water elementals, and lesser water elementals aren't very good. Yetis, you can't summon because you don't have air. Cave Calves, you can't summon because you don't have earth. Naiads and Naiad Warriors, once you hit level 5, those are pretty solid. Naiad Warriors much more than Naiads. Kokothieds, or Kidnids, sorry, not the Kokothieds. Kidnids have Awe like 3, so they can be pretty tough. That's a solid choice. Howl, likewise, Howl is good, but it doesn't come until level 5. So going down here, yes, it's useful. I don't know that it's your first target. I think your first target is Alteration. Because Alteration at level 3 gives you Protection and Moss Body, which are fantastic point buffs that every mage you own can cast. And Protection and Moss Body, you can just slap them down on your little Vetti, and it makes them almost impossible to kill. To be, like, not impossible. That's an exaggeration, but a Vetti with Protection has total prot going up, has the Barkskin effect, so total prot up towards 20. Hey, Testron, good to see you too. And Moss Body has a 75% chance to just straight off take 15 off the top of that damage. And then, of course, if they break the Moss Body, it explodes and poisons everyone around the person who burst it off. Then at level 4, you get Swarm, and Swarm is still, even with after the Swarm bugs got nerfed and all of their, not all, but most of their AN damage got taken away, Swarm is still a great chaff field clogging spell. Also, some of them are flying, so they can, like, jump into the back and start poking at mages to distract them. So that's good. Then at level 5, you get Wooden Warriors and Mother Oak. And I think Vettihime putting up Mother Oak early in the game is a pretty Chad move, to be honest. Enchantment? Well, okay, so actually, let's keep talking about Alteration. Other Alteration buffs that you get in the first 4 levels. Cheat Fate, Luck, Body, Ethereal. Your Astral Mages dropping those on Vetti will make them incredibly annoying. Water, you get Quickness. Your Water 2 mages casting Quickness makes your Berserkers chop twice as fast and with higher skill. That's really good. You also get Numbness and Slow. Slow is anti-quickness. Sadly, it does not have their attacks, but it does cut their combat speed, their attack, and their defense in AoE 1, so that's a solid thing. And Numbness slows units down and also gives them fatigue every turn. Wave Warriors later on is a solid one as well. You can drop that on top. Wave Warriors plus Moss Body is a great interaction. Wave Warriors plus Body Ethereal, or Twist Fate, or, I mean, basically all of your buffs stack really well with each other. You can also get... Death doesn't give you anything out of Alteration early on. Later on it gives you Soul Vortex, but you're not really a thug nation, if you know what I mean. Stygian Skin, if this was something that you could put on another person, this would be a great spell, but you can't. It's self-only, so forget Stygian Skin. What do I think of Slime? Slime's a pretty decent little spell, to be totally honest. Is it Nature primary or Water primary? There it is, Water 1. Yeah, I mean, Slime's very solid. It's a solid little single area of effect debuff. The only problem with it is it's a projectile, so most of the time infantry will move out from underneath it. Axel, yes, you can have all of them. You can have a single square of Vetti who are quickened, bark-skinned, moss-bodied, body ethereal, and lucky. And that square of Vetti will annihilate pretty much anybody, if it's Vetti Berserkers especially. They will do very, very well against enemy troops. The problem is they will still get, like, Falling Fires cast on them, and even with the luck, some of them will die every time that happens. Have I ever considered taking luck, then casting Twiceborn into Transformation? I've thought about it some, but honestly, well, Transformation is actually kind of a high-level spell. Or, I forget what exactly it's called. Yeah, Transformation. It only costs Nature 2, and it's not terribly expensive. It does take Alteration 6 research, but yes, you can use this, but you want to take luck for it, and it can still end up very bad. If you got Mother Oak, however, then starting to transform your guys with your overwhelming collection of nature gems, yeah, that can work. Go for it. Sure, it's kind of a meme, but it's a useful meme. And yes, Slime is a very good debuff. If you can start dropping Slime on people. All of these are stuff that will help you win the troop fight. The problem is, you are already probably in a decent place to win the troop fight, This helps you win the troop fight more. It doesn't help you against the thing that's going to kill you, which is spells. In order to win against spells, you are going to need to leverage some of your other tools. You do have, in Thaumaturgy, you can communion up with some of your mages. You can also go into Blood and get the Sabbath spells. So now, a grand total of 40% of your mages can join a communion, assuming you have some blood slaves floating around. You can use those communions primarily to boost up your death and your astral, and those are kind of the paths that you're going to have to use to try and fight other mages. That's going to be the trickiest part. And that's what you need Jotengigya for. Oh, I should also mention, which is, I think it's Enchantment? Yeah, Enchantment, level 5, Foul Vapors. Enchantment, also a good path to go down, because it gives you Foul Vapors. In terms of water, it gives you Vile Water, which can sometimes be useful, but beyond that, it's mostly the Foul Vapors and then the Undead Summons. Going down to Enchantment level 5 also gives you Horde of Skeletons and Pale Riders, which your Jotengigya will be able to cast sometimes. So this is what makes your Death Mages useful for pumping out skeletons and such. If you can drop Foul Vapors and then spam Horde of Skeletons long enough to delay the enemy for a while, that could be a very effective tactic, because you just poison the whole battlefield, churn out the skeletons, have your mages be poison resistant using Poison Ward, Serpent's Blessing, or potentially Purify Blood, which is level 7, I think. Yeah, Blood 4, Nature 1. All three of those can provide protection against poison for your mages, and then you just churn out skeletons until you win the game. Until you win the battle, rather. Later in the game, or actually it doesn't have to be very late, your Jotengigya can serve as very good Turbo Communion slaves, because they have 35 hit points, they have nature, and they're sacred. So what that means is, if you want to, you can take a Regeneration Bless, a little bit of extra HP, and then have them also cast Personal Regeneration, or have some nature mage, cast Personal Regeneration on the Communion. Regenerating at 20%, with 4 HP they're 10% rounds up, so they'd be regenerating 8 HP per round. And so you'd be able to have 2 Jotungigyas supporting 8 Vettihime or other Jotengigya masters, who can churn out skeletons forever or cast other spells forever, or, what have you. As long as the spells are below a certain threshold of fatigue, they'll only take 1 HP damage per spell, and then regenerate it right back. Axel, aren't Sith Kona better at doing this? Yes. Well, not the Sith Kona precisely, but the Jotun Skrati are better at being Turbo Communion slaves, because they can be triple regenerative, because they also already have regeneration baked into their Wolfman form. So they can be regenerating up to 12 HP per round, and so they can support more masters. And those masters will be, of course, Sith Kona, so they can churn out more skeletons. So, yes, Utgard is better at it, magically, but being slightly worse at something than magical than Utgard is still means you're pretty decent at it, and it definitely is a strategy that Vettihime can have in their back pocket. So magically, that's kind of where you are, and then your late game magic is basically breaking into blood. With Jotengigya, with Vettihag, Blood Hunters, with some Vettihigya with the Blood Cross path, you break into blood, and you use that as countermeasures. Blood actually has some pretty good anti-mage spells, shall we say. One of them, of course, is... where is it? Bloodletting. You can use Bloodletting to just slap the whole battlefield with armor-negating life drain damage. Yes, this will hurt your Vetti. At this point, you don't bring a whole lot of Vetti into this battle. You cast Bloodletting several times, and you try to wipe out the enemy mages, or at least interrupt their spellcasting, so they don't get off the Earthquakes, the Thunderstrikes, the Air Elemental Summons, the whatever it is that's going to destroy your army. Also, you can use spells like Leech, which is, it's only 30 range, but it's just straight up armor negating fuck you damage. It's unresistible, nothing stops it, it drains life, so it will regenerate your own fatigue. even a Blood 1 mage can churn out Leech, like, a lot. So once you hit Blood level 7, all of a sudden your random little Blood 1 mages become very dangerous. You also have this spell, Winter's Call, which summons a Neefle Jarl. It costs 86 Blood Slaves, and you can only cast it if Illwinter is active. So you have to put up Illwinter, which means you need a Water 3 mage who also has a ton of blood. But if you can get Illwinter up and cast Winter's Call, then you can end up with some pretty serviceable, like, heavy thug chassis for relatively cheap. Rough Sea, that's not how Moss Body works. Moss Body does not take a roll, it just straight up subtracts 15 from the damage. It's not a DRN. And it only has a 75% chance to fire, but no, Moss Body cannot... Well, Moss Body could take 15 out to make it effectively 10 plus DRN versus 0 plus DRN, but you're still going to take damage. Almost all of the time, unless your, your DRN protection roll is very, very high. But yeah, blood becomes your thing later on in the game. Mostly you've got BS and BN, so you can call horrors, you can crossbreed for patrollers, and etc. You can do purify blood, you can more horrors, etc. You can get the Forces of Ice, Claws of Cocytus, and the lesser Ice Devil spells, so you can summon the Ice Devils. You can, of course, have the Infernal Disease, Ritual of 5 Gates, the Heliophagi, 3 red seconds. 3 red seconds is a great spell, I love it to death. All that good stuff. But you will never get, unless you get indie mages, you'll never get the fire, you'll never get the air or the earth. Can be kind of a problem. In terms of what god I would go with, I would either, if it's me, I'm probably either going to take Irminsul with a bless for Turbo Communions and a Mage Bless, or I'm going to take somebody else with a defensive bless of some kind. One thing I was thinking about, actually, was Idol of Beasts with, like, 15 shock resist, and then poison resist for your sacreds, and then at least 1 point of resilient plus maybe low light vision. Something like that. That's a very basic, like, kind of wide resistance bless. That's just trying to make your Rimvetti a little tougher. Hey, longtime lurker, nice of you to join us. Basically, this is trying to make it so that unless they're actually hit with the Thunderstrike, they won't die of it from the AoE damage. And then this makes them immune to Foul Vapors. At this point, you can take this guy imprisoned and pretty much max out your scales. I would definitely take Order over Production. You don't necessarily need Production nearly so much. When did they make Trollheim a real nation? Oh, just recently. But yeah, I mean, look at it. It's basically Trollheim. It's pretty much Trollheim. This I think could be workable. This, of course, with the Regeneration Bless, is workable. And then you take, like, you have to take away some of your scales, but that's not honestly too much of a problem. You could take even some Earth for, like, well, you have to take this guy Awake, which costs you a lot more points. So you have to fuck with the scales quite a bit at that point. Probably something like that. And just take Regeneration. Or you could take, if you wanted a little bit more, like, defensive oomph, you could take the Keeper of the Bridge, who makes for a decent later game, like, defensive thug kind of guy. Of course, like I mentioned, you could take the Bog Mummy. Or if you want better expansion, the Son of Fenrir is a pretty decent choice. He berserks, he's got high prot once he berserks, he's stealthy, causes fear, and he can take a regen bless. Albeit it's expensive on him. So you can do lots of stuff here. But in terms of gods, I probably am going to go for an Immobile. Monolith is an excellent Mage Bless chassis. Irminsul is the best Regen Bless chassis. Idol of Beasts or Idol of Man are the best kind of wider Resistance Bless chassis. So pick your poison out of here. Fountain of Blood? Maybe not. Maybe not the Fountain of Blood. If I want blood things in the late game, probably Bog Mummy. Axel, is regeneration really worth it? Regeneration is only worth it if you're using it to enable a Turbo Communion strategy with Jotun Gigya. It's not an early game bless for Vettihime. In fact, what you might do is you might take Regeneration Dormant so that you have some points for scales. Because then you can take, like, that or something. Or you could close those out and take Luck 3, which also wouldn't be a bad choice. I really like Luck. But you could do this, like, the regeneration being dormant doesn't matter because it's not really helping your Rimvetti anyway, since they have so few HP. And you could, then once this tree wakes up, then you can start the Turbo Communion shenanigans. But, yeah, regeneration is for the Jotun Gigya, nobody else. I think that wraps it up for Vettihime. That's about all I've got to say on them. Like I said, I'll kind of condense these thoughts a little bit and put them out in a video in a little while. But, oh yeah, well in general, regeneration is absolutely worth it on anything that has more than about 20 hit points. But specifically for Vettihime, it's only worth it for the Jotun Gigyas. So that's Vettihime. And now let's travel back in time a little bit, shall we? Let's travel back in time to the Middle Ages and back in time to the previous patch, or 2 patches ago, I think, and talk about Ind, the magnificent kingdom of exalted virtue. To be honest, and I know this is funny to say, but Ind has really grown on me. In a lot of ways, it's the kind of nation that I don't like, because it is a blood communion nation, and yet there's something charming about Ind. Also, it doesn't hurt, and I'll be totally blunt here, it doesn't hurt that, in my opinion, Ind is one of the strongest nations in the Middle Age. I think it's right up there with Ashdod and Nazca. Well, it's not as strong as Nazca, but it's one of the strongest nations in the age, by far. And it's not because of anything that's on this screen. Well, actually, it is because of something that's on this screen, partially. It's because of this guy. But there's a lot of stuff that's not on this screen that also is, pretty fucking good. So, Ind. In their capital, you've got, well, in all of their forts, you've got the Abbot Sages, who is fine. He's priest level 2, which often doesn't matter, but sometimes does if you're fighting Celeria or somebody. Astral 1, he's an adept researcher, and he's a fortune teller, and he's sacred. For 110 gold, pretty decent value. His upkeep is low because he's sacred, so you can pump him out. And he does your researching and doesn't afraid of anything. Bishop generals and archbishop marshals, I never recruit these guys because they're capital-only leaders. They're priest leaders, they're fine. Primate king is one of your holy 3 priests. I think one of 2 that Ind actually has. So he can become a Prester king. He has 2 paths. He's astral, he's holy 3, he's 200 gold, slow to recruit. You recruit 1 or 2 of these guys and then forget about them. The Abbot Magus and the Abbot Magus Supreme are what you're going to be spending most of your time in your capital recruiting. The Abbot Magus is a pretty decent, kind of expensive mage. He's like an indie Magus, but a little bit better because he's astral too, so that's fine. And you recruit these guys in your capital. He's an adept researcher, they're fortune tellers, sure. The Abbot Magus Supreme, however, is what gives you access to some of your cross paths. He has nature, he has fire, water, so he can kind of tie those into your communion, and he's a high-level astral mage who can potentially, I'm trying to think of how many that is, 1 in 50 times, I think, because there's 5 cross paths, 10%, yeah, 1 in 50 of them is actually astral 4, which is sort of hilarious. But yeah, Abbot Magus Supreme, that's probably what your capital is going to spend time recruiting most of the time, if you have the money for it. Ind is one of the nations that can get Holy 5 naturally. Yes, well, not naturally. Exactly. Oh yeah, their heroes are H4. Yeah, that's true. You can get a hero and then make him a prophet, and then he's Holy 5. Which is hilarious, but not really necessary. So, those are your mages. Your mage corps here seems, I don't know, pretty unexceptional, to be honest. In terms of units, all these troops are sacred, and that's the thing about them. That's the only thing about them. Soldier priests, expensive for infantry, but they're sacred. Archer Priests, expensive for archers, but they're sacred. Mirror Guard, very expensive, tough, heavy infantry. You can only recruit 2 per turn, and they're sacred. That's the thing about them. It's a deceptively small thing, but it's actually really important. In terms of all their sites, you know what these are. They've got Astral and Fire, more Astral, Earth, and Water. So they get plenty of different types of gems from their capital. I think it is funny that they actually get water gems when the only mage they natively have that has water is a random on the Abbot Magus Supreme. So, this is basically just the capital. These guys come from other provinces outside the capital that don't have forts. And then over here, there's all the rest of the nation, which is actually a lot. Cannibal warlords are cheap, easy to recruit guys that you get from outside forts. They're berserkers, they're shitty leaders, they actually have a morale bonus penalty, and they cause unrest, but they're 30 gold and you can recruit them everywhere, so they just pick guys up and move them around. Bishop Vicomtes are actually really important to Int, although they don't necessarily look like it. Holy 2 priests, they're slow to recruit because you can only recruit them outside of a fort, so they take 2 turns. They are tax collectors, which doesn't matter all that much. They reduce unrest. This has been reduced. It used to be 2 points, now it's only 1 point. It's still important. And they have the Lord over Heathen Tribes ability, which lets them muster cannibal warriors. It's going to be a huge pain in the ass to alter my stream to show the mod inspector at this time, so let's hop into a game, shall we? And yes, Jimbo also brought up a point about these troops. They do actually bless themselves. There's no indication of that on here, but they automatically bless in every battle. They bless themselves. So let's jump into the. Do I have an Ind pretender? I've got Donald Trump. Let's create an Ind. Let's just make a game for Ind real quick. Create a game for Ind. We'll put on debug mod once again, and we'll just hop in so we can run around with Ind and open up some stuff. Let's grab not Bidden. Let's grab Bunyip again. It's kind of my generic testing things map. We will be in the Magnificent Kingdom. We will take an expander of some kind. Sure, Myrmicolion. We'll give him Earth 6 and Hard Skin, so he's invincible. And, like, some growth scales or whatever. Oh, and actually, shit. We also need to give him 1 point of Astral. Hard Skin. Yeah, there we go. Fine. Yes, Robsy, I was about to get to that. So, we've got this guy. We are going to contact a debug sensei, recruit some troop duders. Arne with his 29 protection before anything. We'll start moving out into provinces just to take them. Well, you... let's... Yeah, contact debug sensei again. You can trash luck as Ind, you don't have to by any means. Now, let's start casting... well, let's start casting for gems. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw Wizard's Towers everywhere so you can see in relatively short order what the different things are. You know what I mean when I say things, don't you? The different forts. Just gonna have this guy rampage around for a little bit. Are we getting Oni Unrest Pits but for cannibals? Yes, literally. That's what it is. That's what Ind does now. I'm trying to find like a cave, a mountain. Well, there's a cave. It's got Cynocephalians in it. I don't really want to go in there without my Dominion. I mean, he is Prot 29, but still. Here, come over this way. Because it's not... It's Highlands. There's a Highland. It's Highlands that give you the really cool extra fort. Let's drop a wizard's tower there in the forest. Ian's weakest point is the early game. Yeah, more or less. Great, and let's drop a wizard's tower in the cave. And let's drop a wizard's tower in a plain. And let's drop another wizard's tower in another plain. I think actually that's a wasteland. Yeah, sure, let's drop a wizard's tower in a wasteland. Is there? Oh, yeah. That's a Highlands. Okay, great. So now let's drop one more wizard's tower, and that should be, hopefully, all of them. That's them. That's... Oh, wow, actually... Oh, because that's a mountain province, not a plain. Okay, well... I actually don't have a plains province yet. Interesting. Take that farm real quick. Oh my god, did I lose? Oh no, he didn't go there. Why didn't you go there? There we go. Because that's a farm. And there's like no normal plains provinces here. Drop a wizard's tower there. That's a normal plain. Alright, okay, so I think I've got most of them at this point. So, this is the strength event. Alright, in the capital, we've got all this stuff, yada yada, that's fine. In the forts, however, you get completely different types of units. In plains, you can get these little Peconia guys, these little Hoburgs, essentially. They're not super impressive. They give you an Earth 1 mage, they give you a Peconia king who's an inspirational leader, and they give you some pretty decent size 1 troops. Like Peconia soldiers, they're Burgmeister Guard. That's literally what they are. They're pretty solid, but they're nothing special. They do cost a whole bunch of recruitment points and some resources. You get little slinger dudes. Since you can cast flaming arrows very easily, little slinger dudes aren't bad, but they're nothing to write home about. In forests, you get some stuff that's worth writing home about. For one thing, you get crossbows, which are solid. In Middle Age, crossbows are not super, super common. You also get great huntresses. Great huntresses can summon, they've reduced it from 2 to 1, but they can summon 1 lion per turn. There are 4 kinds of lion. All the kinds of lion are pretty decent, like, free spawn chaff units. Actually, what they did was they increased the huntresses from 1 recruitment point to 2, from 1 commander point to 2, so that you can't spam them quite as quickly. So you can't get as many lions as you used to, but you can still get lions. These guys are probably the best. These are the Cynocephalians. I know I've talked about Ind some before, but just to emphasize, Magog Bitchmothers are fantastic, amazing mages. Blood 2, Death, Nature. They get a random from those 3 paths, so no wasted extra randoms in like fucking water or whatever. Cough, cough, gig ya. And they're stealthy. They are amazing. Incredible. They're not even slow to recruit. They cost 225 gold for 5 paths, which is pretty decent value. They are heretics, but who cares? They're bad researchers, but who cares? If you have these ladies sitting around researching, it's just because you haven't found someone for them to murder yet. They're good. They're very, very good mages. And the troops are also incredibly good, most of them. Magog Flesh Hunters, I mean, look at this. This is a 20 gold infantry unit with 3 melee attacks plus a bow. Unfortunately, they are undisciplined, so they'll just stand there shooting their bow until someone gets into melee. So you don't recruit them. You recruit these guys, the Gog Reavers. Gog Reavers hit like fucking trucks. They have prot. They have decent skills. They berserk +4. And they're, these guys actually aren't ambidextrous, but their weapons are short, so it doesn't hardly hurt them. These ladies are berserk +3 as well, so they're really, really good. In particular, what you can actually do is, with your Magog Bitch Mothers, you can cast Rising Fury out of a Blood Sabbath, and send these guys mental, have them just charge in immediately with their prop bonus and their strength bonus and their attack skill bonus, and they do excellent, excellent work. You also have kind of the lesser units. You have the Cynocephalian Flesh Eaters, which are cheaper. These are just like a cheaper, somewhat shittier version of the Gog Reavers. The Cynocephalian Hunters are a cheaper, shittier version of the Magog Flesh Hunters. These are essentially indie units. These are Ind-specific. You also have the Cynocephalian Shaman. Ind's Cynocephalian Shaman is different from the Indie Cynocephalian Shaman. The Indie has a random. The Ind one just has nature plus a 0-point random. Yeah, you can see this is the Indie version, because this actually was an Indie Cynocephalian province. So the Indie Cynocephalian Shaman is sacred and has a random plus a 50% random for 135 gold. The Ind-specific one is not sacred, 75 gold for nature specifically, which is kind of funny. I'm not sure why this distinction was drawn, but yeah, they do have a 50% random, which can include blood and earth. So, like, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, thug with these ladies, but their hit points are kind of low. I don't know why you would bother. I don't know why they exist, to be honest. You're never going to recruit them. So, that's them. Here's the other, and possibly the more important part of the nation, alright? Because all your mages are priests, right? So you can build labs and temples with them. This is the stuff that you get in a province where there's no fort. You can get the Bishop Vicomte. The Bishop Vicomtes can spawn cannibal warriors, which are just little free spawn duders. In fact, let me recruit a couple of these guys, just for funsies. And let's build a few temples, and I'll show you what they look like. There is one more type of fort. Let me try to get them so I can show them off while we're doing this. Drop a wizard's tower there, and that's also a place I can go. It's across a river. Let's build a temple there. What about the Knights in the Forest? The Knights in the Forest, they're alright. They're not exceptional. They have lower armor than most knights, but slightly higher defense skill. So, they're knights. They can be useful. I certainly wouldn't criticize anyone for recruiting them. And then the Centaur Chariots, likewise. They're nice, they can be useful, they trample, they have a dying shape, which is a slave with lower morale, but otherwise basically the same stats. Orient Warriors are basically just standard indie heavy infantry. They're solid. The Femini troops are better, which is why I'm trying to show them off. Also, Femini actually has mages. Yes, great Femini. Femini sorceresses, fire, astral with a random, 145 gold for 3 paths, not bad. And they have the Femini Lady Knights, which are very, very good. Very, very, very good. 15 prot, 19 defense skill, barely more expensive than the Orient Knights. I would absolutely recruit these ladies if I want knights, and I have in my end game. I've recruited a number of them. So, Femini, decent. Hoburgs, decent. You can see over here, these ladies, I'm just going to start spawning lions with them. In the meantime, though, I've got my temple down here. I'm going to build a lab as well. I'm going to send some people over into these provinces so I can build more labs and temples. Because here's the thing, right? Outside of a... Oh, I have no resources in this province because I built too many forts. Okay, so I can't recruit anything to show you, but... In terms of... Oh yes, the homesickness Anakites. They're just funny, and I never think about them because I've never recruited them. The Giants of the Lost Tribe, they're half-price Anakites. They're not sacred, and they have homesickness 30, which means they die in 4 turns if they go anywhere outside their home province. They're worthless because they can't go anywhere. But what's kind of hilarious about this is their province defense is Anakites. It's literally just straight up Anakites. And you can just keep putting province defense in this province and you will keep getting Anakites, and it's sort of hilarious. You can also get the Kings of the Lost Tribe. They're 195 gold for essentially an Adon that's not sacred. But once again, they have homesickness 30, so they're not useful. Like, these guys are just kind of some kind of weird joke. I don't know what to say. They're just like, they're Anakites who can't be used as Anakites. If they weren't homesick, then Wastelands would be fantastic. I mean, you still couldn't recruit them hardly because you wouldn't really have resources or recruitment points because it's a wasteland, you know, with very little population and no recruitment points. So you wouldn't be able to mass them still, but if you could actually use them, they might be useful, as funny as that sounds to say. As it is, they're not worth recruiting ever, because they'll just sit here in this wasteland. The one time the Lost Tribe might be useful is if you have a fort that's on a wasteland, and you just slam the PD into it and start pumping these guys out, and that fort will be safe as houses for a long, long time. Tor Nielsen, yeah, you can use them to, well, not a 2-province radius, really, because by the second one out, they'll have lost 60% of their hit points, so they will be HP 20. And then they might actually die coming back, depending on when exactly it shows up. I know it's a reference to the Lost Tribe of Israel. It's just funny that they chose to represent the Lost Tribe of Israel by being huge, immensely powerful giants who can't go anywhere. Yeah, you might be able to do some kind of weird raiding thing with them, but I'll be honest, I would rather just dedicate the resources to other things. But yeah, if you get a Wasteland Throne Province, absolutely, you can just pack Anakites onto it. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing about Ind is this. This guy, the Cannibal Shaman Chief, this guy just puts the whole fucking nation on his back. And the reason he does that is because he costs 90 gold and he's a Blood 1 mage with a sorcery random. So he's actually a 90 gold Blood 2, or a 90 gold Blood 1 B1S1, or B1D1, or B1N1. This guy can cast all the basic Blood crosspath spells by himself. He can summon Chaff to patrol for free, he can do your blood hunting, you can boost him up so that he can summon vampires. Vampire Lords is hard, but you can get him up to summon the troop vampires without too much trouble. You can boost him up to summon lesser horrors and throw them at enemy provinces. He can do anything. And he costs 90 gold. 90 gold. Yeah, he's a heretic. Nobody cares. He causes unrest. Once again, nobody cares. These guys are the perfect blood hunters. And, like I said, you get them without having to build a fort. You just move into a province, you slap down a lab, and you start spending 45 gold per turn, it will take 2 turns, recruiting Cannibal Shaman Chiefs. And you do that here, 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 here. You don't do it, like, here, because you want to recruit Magog Bitchmothers out of this place. And there are 2 or 3 provinces where you build a fort. Like, if you build a fort to get the Femini Mages, so you can recruit Femini Sorceresses and Lady Knights. That's fine. And you build a fort or 2 to get the Magog Bitchmothers. That's fine. And everywhere else, you are either recruiting Cannibal Shaman Chiefs or Bishop Vicomtes. Because Bishop Vicomtes free spawn Cannibal Warriors. Let me actually see if I can get a temple somewhere where we have resources so that I can show you the Cannibal free spawn. Let's get it out. Our undefended province has been conquered by the enemy. Oh, it's been attacked by strange birds. This is an Ind-specific random event. Strange birds attack your Piconiate provinces every summer. So every summer turn, birds attack you, and they're just shitty birds. They're very bad at everything. You don't really need to worry about them, but they're there. They will attack you. I'm just going to put some province defense into provinces real quick. so I'm not super annoyed by everything going on while we're all talking. So let's kill the birds. Keep summoning allies here. Ind just has thing after thing. Like, Ind is like an onion. It's got layers. There are so many special qualities that occur in Ind that other nations just don't have. It's kind of hilarious. You can see here we have the lions. There's black lions, which are stealthy. There's red lions, which are strong. There's blue lions, which are disciplined. Disciplined lions. These guys are probably the best. There's also green lions, who are also stealthy, but slightly weaker than the black ones. Anyway, these are just free spawn. They don't have an upkeep cost. They're not very good, but they do have 2 attacks and high strength and attack skill. So you can buff them up and just launch them into the enemy. And once again, you get them for free. I mean, these ladies cost like 3 gold per turn to maintain. So you just churn out as many great huntresses as you can and spam out lions. Let's get down there to build a temple. And you can take that province so we can build a temple in it. And you can take that province so we can build a temple in it. Actually, take that province so we can build a temple in it. Yeah, go ahead. Alright. So, we build a temple. Don't have any resources down here, so we can't recruit anything, which is a shame. We'll also build a lab, maybe. And we'll start getting our bishop Viscounts. Can I incidentally say that I've always been a little perplexed that God can't build temples? Like, it's funny, right? I mean, why wouldn't God be able to build temples? Maybe it seems self-aggrandizing or something, but you're trying to become fucking the god of the entire world. Like, why wouldn't there be a little bit of self-aggrandizement involved? Ind seems really weak in the early game. Well, yes, but actually no, and I'll talk about why in just a minute. Also, I seem to be about to be attacked by Atlantis. Yes, I am being attacked by Atlantis, so that's fun. Okay, so we start mobilizing heathens, right? Here's the thing, and this didn't used to be true. The latest patch changed this. It used to be you could only have one guy in each province summoning heathens, but that's not true anymore. I don't care. So, over here, this guy started summoning heathens. He got this one pathetic Azanak archer, right? The Azanak archer is pretty decent. He's got 2 daggers and a short bow, but he's undisciplined. He has low magic resistance, low protection. He's a free spawn mook. You know how those free spawn mooks are. They just don't do a whole lot of stuff. But, you have not seen the big picture just yet. A dire portent. Okay. Well, lightning from a malicious pretender god is striking at me. Let me cast... where's Dispel? Let me dispel that. So now we've got 3 guys here who are going to start mobilizing heathens. And you might notice the second guy was different. We got a Ventifoli horseman, who is basically a horse tribe, but an undisciplined cannibal. All the cannibals have pillager, they all cause unrest, they're all undisciplined. So they are causing a little bit of unrest, but hey, this province actually still has 0 unrest. Why is that? Well, it's because we have these priests here, and they all reduce unrest by 1 each, in addition to the unrest-reducing effects of my candles and my order... Well, I don't have order scales, actually, but of my candles. So now, with 3 guys mobilizing heathens, all of a sudden we got 6 units last turn. Azanak archers and Ventifoli horsemen. These are different according to what terrain you're in, by the way. I think they're all pretty much available in all terrains, but like in forests you get different ones, including some 2-attack berserkers. There's a guy with a shield who pops up occasionally. You know, all kinds of stuff. There's 6 or 7 different kinds of cannibals that you can free spawn. And you can just go to this one province, right? I'm only now starting to get unrest, and I just spawned 12 troops last turn. We'll start mobilizing some more heathens. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys mobilizing heathens here. Once again, all Azanach archers and Ventifoli in this province, so I might move to a different province pretty soon to show you some of the others. Yep, 5 unrest total last turn. We're up to 32 cannibals. But alright, I don't like those cannibals. I want other cannibals. Let's move to a forest. Incidentally, mobilizing cannibals in places where you have forts is much less effective. I don't know why exactly, that's just the way it is. So let's move to a forest and mobilize some cannibals there. Oh my god, he cast it again. Stop it. No, not you. The AI, for some reason, if they're in a debug mod game, they love casting Wrath of God. Alright, so let's start mobilizing heathens over here, shall we? Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. You're now allowed to stack these guys however many you want in a single province to spam as many cannibals as you want in one place. So now you may notice I went up to 11 unrest in that province. I got 10 guys that turn with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys spamming. Half of these guys were Falmapori warriors, which are double attack berserkers. Now we're starting to talk, right? So let's mobilize more heathens, lads. And you can just, with 3 temples, or 4 temples pumping these guys out, you can just bring them in and make the cannibals roll out. Why don't I cast Wrath of God? Because it would be pointless. They're just gonna keep coming after me. I mean, it's the AI, like, what do you want? There we go. 25, half of them are Falmapori warriors, half of the others are the generic cannibal warriors. You see what I'm talking about. End free spawns. It's what it does. You've got cannibal free spawn. You've got lion free spawn. No, don't search for magic sites. Mobilize heathens. We've got 57 lions in this province now, and most of these ladies haven't even been summoning them. So by turn 20 or 30, End can very, very easily be churning out like 100 free spawn per turn. No trouble. They don't free spawn quite as hard as Celeria does, but they free spawn pretty fucking hard. On top of that, of course, they have better path access than Celeria does, and they have blood magic. I haven't built any labs out here, so I haven't, like, been showing you, but like I said, this is no shit one of the more efficient blood hunters in the game, much less in the Middle Age. Much less as a foreign recruitable mage. Cannibal Shaman Chiefs are amazing for that job, and what's really funny is if you took Magic 3 scales, they're actually not even bad researchers. Yeah, Celeria still out free spawns End, but Celeria is a free spawn death nation. End is a free spawn astral blood nation. It's difficult to compare. I mean, I'm not going to say outright that End is more powerful than Celeria, because Celeria is an extremely powerful nation. But End is also extremely powerful. And especially once you get into the late game and End really gets rolling. Like, this is like, you know, this was just me kind of fucking around showing you guys things. But if you get into the late game and End really gets rolling, then they will be hitting you with dozens and dozens and dozens of free spawn, plus their stealthy hidden blood mages, these ladies who can pop up anywhere and Skeleспam or Leech or Hellbind heart raid you, and they have their standard blood mages blood hunting the shit out of their entire empire, and they have their Astral Earth fire mages leading their armies, Oh, and of course, as we haven't really talked about, their soldier priests, like we said, are all sacred. They can only recruit these out of the capital, but you get an extra holy point as Ind for every temple you have. So you're building temples to get your free spawn, and you build 4 or 5 temples, and you start with, you know, I don't know, 6 Dominion instead of 3, and now you can recruit 11 or 12 sacreds per turn. Oh, I wouldn't even I mean, yeah, you can put a black heart on the bitch mothers. Like, that wouldn't hurt. And they're fantastic assassins because they have all of the best assassination paths. They have death, nature, and blood. Like, they can just pop up and leech a mage to death and just walk away. Now, well, they probably can't leech because blood mages don't usually bring blood slaves with them to assassinations. So, oh no, boo-hoo. They'll have to either swarm or cast Horde of Skeletons. Like, isn't that terrible? How bad must that be? So, yeah, they've got some of the best assassination in the game. They've got some of the best mages in the Middle Age. They've got excellent free spawn potential. They've got all kinds of really high-quality troops, albeit, you know, they come out of limited places, which can be a bummer. And they've got, in every fort, no matter what, they always have, at a minimum, a 110 gold research monkey who is also a communion slave. Basically, Ind is the bomb. It's a very powerful nation just because it has everything. As for the soldier priests, in terms of blesses for Ind, let's quit out of this game. And let's go back to creating pretender gods. Blesses for Ind, I've seen a variety of strategies used. The greedy strategy, the gamble strategy, is you take an expander with basically no bless. You just take something that will enable him to expand, like hard skin or whatever, and then you spend the rest of your points on scales. Like, this is actually, I mean, you could legitimately do it with just Earth 4 and just, like, double reinvigoration. And then you can dump Misfortune if you want. Doesn't hurt you. I would recommend grabbing Magic 3 so you can research quickly, but although, honestly, that's not super necessary. And you can give yourself a little bit of Order, maybe. You don't really need Order, though. In fact, actually, I would probably dump Turmoil on Ind, because Turmoil scales increase the free spawn. Like, that Cannibal free spawn, that was in neutral scales. Turmoil increases that free spawn. And you always have Order 3 in your capital because the Sublime Palace automatically gives you Order 3. So you don't actually suffer the income penalty and the unrest penalty in your capital. You can just, or even the resource penalty, you can just fucking dump that. So you can dump that. You can dump luck if you want. I probably wouldn't. I would probably, like, either leave it neutral or maybe take some luck. And then, like, push it up to 7 Dominion. This is a perfectly playable Ind. This is the Ind that's weak in the early game, because this Ind has to expand and get the free spawn online before they can really fight. They do have a Myrmicolion to fight off early rushes, but many nations will be able to rush this Ind successfully. Or you could take, like, the Divine Glyph. And because Ind gets an extra Astral Bless point, you could give your guys luck for remarkably cheap. And now all of your infantry, your sacred infantry, these guys who you can recruit a ton of, well, not a ton right now because you only have Dominion 5, but what you could do is you could cut down your magic a little bit, push that up to 8. Now you can recruit 8 of those plus the number of temples you have per turn, and they're lucky. So they're 4 times as hard to kill. If you really, really want to be nasty, you can even get a Flaming Weapons Bless or something. This is a little expensive in terms of scales, but a weapon... I played against somebody who was doing, I think, this. I'm not sure if it was the Divine Glyph or the Baphomet, but I think it was the Divine Glyph. This cuts into your scales some, so you might have to take Sloth, you might have to cut that out. Maybe cut that down to 5 Dominion. That's 0 right there. So with 5 Dominion, Flaming Weapons, Luck Bless, you still have Luck 3, Turmoil 3, Growth 3. You do have to deal with Heat 3, but this is fine. This makes your Soldier Priests very scary. it also actually makes your archer priests scary. Because now your archer priests have the luck, so they're 4 times as durable as they should be, and they're firing flaming arrows all the time. Or, as Rovsi says in the chat here, you could also do Heat Aura. Heat Aura is a little bit cheaper, lets you cut down on the fire, gives you an extra scale, so you can grab some magic or something. And Heat Aura luck will mean that people will have a terrible time trying to kill your troops, and your troops will be fatiguing them out every time they try, plus you're in Heat 3 Dominion. So, all this stuff. This is not an easy end to rush. This end is super hard to rush because their troops will not die. They're sacreds. You're going to be fighting those sacreds and fatiguing out for a long time. Now, if you are Ashdod, yes, you can rush end. That's fine. Ashdod can, if they start next to someone and want to rush them, Ashdod can pretty much rush them. But that doesn't make Ind an easy rush nation. Tor Nielsen, isn't Dom 5 very low when you have a conflict penalty? No, not really, because you're going to be building like a bunch of temples, remember? Because you want temples just out there in the world so that you can recruit your Bishop Vicomtes to get your free spawn. And you also need to have temples in your forts so that you can recruit Abbot Sages. So you're going to be building a temple in each fort, plus probably 4 or 5 temples outside of forts just for these guys. We're already talking about 10 temples, which is going to push your Dom up to, your effective Dom up to 7, plus give you 10 extra checks, plus mean that you can recruit 15 soldier priests per turn. Yeah, it gets crazy. And on top of all that, so that by itself, that's a solid way to go in the early game. And then you transition straight into hardcore, heavy death metal blood. Like, just sacrificing everybody. Sacrificing everyone. And honestly, well, Rovsi, here's the thing. It doesn't take you any longer to get infrastructure online than anybody else. It takes you less time, because you're not spamming forts as quickly. And you're still getting full value out of your land. In fact, you're getting more value out of your land than most people with forts, because most people with forts can't recruit a mage as good as this. You just, literally, you slap down a lab. If you want mages, you just slap down a lab and you start recruiting Cannibal Shaman Chiefs. Sop Bucket. Yes, you can also recruit the Bishop Vicomtes from the Cynocephalian provinces, I believe. Normally you can't get them anywhere that has a lab, but you can get them in these provinces. Yes, you can recruit those from Cynocephalian provinces with the temple, because thematically the Viceroys are the ones who keep control of the Gog and Magog tribes. So yeah, Ind is a powerful nation, a very powerful nation, because they can do everything, and because they are indisputably the strongest blood nation in the Middle Age, like by leaps and bounds. They have cheap, easy to access, freely available blood hunters, which nobody else in this era has. Literally nobody. I mean, like, the closest thing that I can think of in the Middle Age is Jotunheim, probably. Or, well, the closest thing actually is Xibalba, because Xibalba has the Wayob. But Wayob have to be recruited in forests, and they require a lab and a fort in order to recruit them, and they're 145 gold for a Blood 1. Now, they do have a Blood Searcher bonus, but still. Ind is far and away a better blood nation than Xibalba is. They are far, far and away a better blood nation than Jotunheim is, because Jotunheim relies on either 25% of Vetti hags, so 160 gold on average for every blood hunter, or they can recruit Jotun Scrati, which are 255 gold and slow to recruit, or they can use Gigya, which are cheaper and now available everywhere. This is actually a change from previously. Previously, Gigya were not any fort for Jotunheim. They now have access to these Gigya any fort, which is a significant Jotunheim buff. And they now have these Jonvidyas, which are their capital-only version, which have 3 randoms, which makes them quite powerful. 6 paths. Still a little expensive for a 6-path mage, but you know what it is. They're also adept crossbreeders. So that's Ind. And Ind, like I said, I think Ind is a strong contender for... Ind is easily in the top 5 nations in the Middle Age. They may be top 3. They do have weaknesses. Like, they are... unless you specifically take a fairly powerful bless, they are rushable. And even then, like I said, Ashdod or somebody can still rush them. Like, you can never make yourself rush-proof. But Ind can be as hard to rush as most other nations. And then they can really take off with the free spawn and the blood magic and etc., etc. And become very, very dangerous very quickly. Like, by turn 40, probably, Ind is an incredibly dangerous nation. Now, while we're still in the Middle Age, and this will take less time because Naba is a lot less complex, let's talk about Naba. Naba is elf giants. That's literally what they are. Naba is like... It's like you took the blood out of Hinnom and you replaced it with elfiness. With the air magic, the glamour, etc. You know, all the qualities that make elves elves in Dominions 5 just got stuffed into a giant nation in place of the blood magic. And voila, we have Naba. Naba has Hinnomite archers, Hinnomite light infantry, Hinnomite elite soldiers. Then they have giant elf sacreds, which are decent. They're not, like, off the top of the charts, but they're solid. They're usable. They do alright for themselves. They also have these Nabian camel riders, which I'll talk about. Nabian camel riders are very good. And then they have some shitty human infantry that no one cares about and should just pretty much go. Like, you could just cut off this whole portion of the unit tree and throw it away. These guys, yeah, sure, keep these guys. But these guys just... whoop. Actually, the archers you can probably also throw in the pile. So, you have scouts. They're slightly cheaper than normal scouts. Cool. You have camel rider commanders who have 1d3 falcons. The falcons are actually important. We'll talk about the falcons. You have these guys who are giant generals. That's fine. That's all they are. You have Earth 1, Holy 1, stealthy mages for 80 gold that are sacred. I don't think I've ever recruited one of these guys, but I mean, they are real cheap lab monkeys, if that's what you want. No, Rovsi, okay, so it's not the great bows that you spam. I'll talk about what you spam. It is an archer, but it's not these guys. These guys are too expensive. I mean, yeah, they hit hard, but they're just 25 gold, 37 resources. Nah, you don't recruit these guys. You recruit these guys. We'll talk about it in a second. You have the Mukarib, which are... These are basically just Ind's astral mages. Like, literally, they're the same, except they're on a giant chassis and slightly more expensive. Then you have the Jan Emirs. Jan Emirs are a thug chassis. They are a pretty solid thug chassis at that. They're giants, they have glamour, they're stealthy, they're fire resistant, they have fire and air, and they can have Earth 1. And pretty much all of the possible randoms for Jan Emirs can do something that's cool in terms of thugging. They can cast Phoenix Fire, they can cast Mist Form, they can cast Flight, they can cast Iron Skin and Temper Flesh and Iron Will, all that stuff. They've got good stat lines. They don't have magic weapons, so you do have to give them gear. They are a little bit vulnerable to iron, as are all Jan units. But still, Jan Emirs are pretty good. Then you have the Sahirs, the Sahiruna. Are Jan Emirs cap only? No, actually. Well, yeah, actually, yes, they are. They are. Because they're limited to... No, they're not. Nope, never mind. They're not cap only. I didn't think they were, but then I thought they were for some reason. Why did I think they were? Oh, that's right, because I was mixing this nation up with Makone, which sucks. But no, actually the only cap-only mage in Naba is the Malika. The Jan Guard, the troop version, those are cap-only. But the Jan Emirs are all over the place. So, the Sahir, a little expensive. Well, actually, I kind of take that back. 315 gold isn't that expensive, considering that not only do you get 6 paths, you also get a glamoured, stealthy giant chassis. Sahiruna are actually very powerful mages. They are slow to recruit, but Fire 2, Air 2, Earth 1, and then a Fire, Earth, Astral random. If they had an Air random, they'd be better, but even so. With the Astral Random, a third of them can lead communions. With the Fire Random, they end up Fire 3, so they can cast the high-level fire spells. They can all summon air elementals, they can fly cloud trapeze, they can do all sorts of shit. They're pretty good, and they are stealthy raiders. In Magnificent Kingdoms, a game which I have not finished uploading, to be honest, I have several games that I'm kind of in the middle of uploading. I may not finish all of them, but I've been fighting a raiding war with Calum for, I think, 12 turns or more. I am eventually slowly losing, but it's not because the Sahirs aren't doing a great job. The Sahirs have been doing a fantastic job. It's just because I started off in a really bad situation, having fought my way back from the brink of almost being destroyed by Vaettiheim. And so I started that war with like half the provinces that Calum had. But yeah, Sahirs are fantastic raiders, because they can just walk into an enemy province, all stealthy-like, pop up, summon an air elemental, boom, you took the province. They stealth through the next province, they hit another one, they're unpredictable, they're hard to track. Some of them, like I said, even have Astral, and the ones who have Astral randoms can't be mind-hunted safely, so... And nothing except that will hit these stealthy boys, so yeah, they're fine. The Marikat are your capital-only mage. They're very expensive, but they're also very powerful. They have 8 paths, including nature. They have a nature random, potentially. They are high-level air mages. They can random up to air 4, or potentially, there's a small chance they can even random up to air 5. But they can random up to air 4, and that's the breakpoint. An air 4 Malika can make the winged helmet and then the bag of winds. So there you go. You've broken into air. Woo, you're all the way up the chain. They have magic power, they're ethereal, and they fly. And they have obfuscate, so they lower the visible size of your army. Malika are very powerful mages. You probably won't have many, but they are worth their weight in gold. And yes, they have 8 paths, plus they are a priest, and they have 95 leadership. And 75 magic leadership. Basically, Malika can do anything they want. And then you have the Hermit Sahir. The Hermit Sahir is very interesting because labs cost 250 in wastes for Naba. Hermit Sahir cost 4 recruitment points. They're slow to recruit, and they can only be recruited outside of forts. So it takes 4 turns to recruit them. Literally. But they only cost 125 gold, so that's 30 gold per turn, approximately. And they have 4 paths. 4 paths for 125 gold is a steal. They also automatically come with a Hin bodyguard, which I'll talk about in a minute, but basically, with these guys, every time you take a waste, you just build a lab in it and start recruiting Hermit Sahiruna, or Hermit Sahara, whichever. I still am not clear on the pluralization. I think there's actually 2 equally, usable pluralizations in the language that Ailwinter took these guys from. But yeah, you start churning these guys out. You will not have many of them because they take 4 turns to recruit each. But every waste will slowly churn out very usable mages. Including the Astral randoms can actually be in communions and do stuff because they have relatively low paths. So using Hermit Sahiruna or Sahara as the commander for Mukharib communions, that can actually work out really well. As long as they don't boost themselves, because of the same interaction that Phlegra takes advantage of, where you don't get the quadruple fatigue, because 1 rounds down to 0, because 0.5 rounds down to 0 in Illwinter's logic, which is hilarious, but very useful. In terms of troops, then, this is the troop. This right here is Naba's troop. Muhammad, yes, I think it is Arabic. The Nabian Camel Rider, I say, is the troop for 2 reasons. First of all, it's stealthy. Well, 3 reasons. First of all, it's stealthy. Second, it has a composite bow. And third, it has a falcon. So, when these guys go into battle, what happens, they start shooting their composite bow, which does quite a bit of damage, is long range, has a decent precision value, and of course you are an air fire nation, so you can drop flaming arrows and wind guide on them. Now they're shooting with precision 15, and they're doing extra armor piercing damage, so they're basically rapid firing machine gun and crossbows. Now normally, an army full of almost entirely archers would be a terrible idea, right? The enemy infantry would just come and attack you. Ah, but you have falcons. You get a free falcon every battle for every Nabian camel rider. And at the start of the battle, those falcons automatically jump into the air, and then they will come down surrounding the enemy army. And they will completely derange the enemy targeting. Like, completely. It's actually hilarious. If you have... I've had a couple battles where I had between 60 and 80 camel riders, and 60 to 80 falcons dropping down in the middle of the enemy army just causes such confusion. Like, you can practically feel the baffled dismay coming out of your computer screen when you watch those battles. It's hilarious. What's also hilarious is that falcons have a charge attack that gives them a damage bonus. So when they drop down and hit someone with their, like, peck, they actually can kill human HP units. And since they do that immediately at the start of the battle, what that means is some of them end up falling on the mage line, and every now and then they will in fact kill a mage. Just boom. No recourse, right at the start of the battle. I imagine it's infuriating to fight against, but so these guys are the troop. Like, for Naba, there's very little reason to recruit other troops when you have Nabian camel riders available. You do have Adite archers, which have higher damage great bows, but they cost way more resources and slightly more gold. You have Adite light infantry, which are fairly efficient, so if you want a line infantry, yes, you do recruit these guys. And you have your John Guard. They're a capital-only sacred. They're pretty solid. You can take a minor bless for them, but I wouldn't give them a heavy bless. They're not really worth it. They are stealthy, so you can raid with them. And they do have glamour, which makes them tougher. They only have defense skill 15, though, so the glamour won't last all that, and prot 13. Their prot is actually quite low for the cost, so they won't last all that long. These guys over here, just ignore them. These guys are, like, shitty light infantry that for some reason cost 17 resources. These guys are better light infantry, actually, because they have javelins. They only cost 13 resources, but I still wouldn't bother really recruiting them, because the way I would play Naba, not the way I played in Magnificent Kingdoms, but the way I would play Naba, knowing now what I should have known then, is I would probably just trash productivity in exchange for growth and magic and luck. And then I would take... you have a lot of god options as Naba. You could actually... Well, okay, so one way you could play this, and a way that I haven't done, is you could take the Bronze Colossus. The Bronze Colossus is probably the most effective expander in the game, just because it's immune to all elements plus poison and damage, and it has 25 prot base, and magic resistance 18, and earth air paths. So you could just, like, you can just take him. He has to be dormant, but you just take him with, like, Earth 4 and Scales, and he's invincible. He's literally invincible. He has Prot 29, and then he casts something to boost that, like Iron Skin. So then he's Prot 31. He's an innate spellcaster. He just walks into people and casts Punch on them over and over and over. Earth Snake? No, I wouldn't take the Earth Snake. You could take the Sahira, the greatest of the queens. I wouldn't bother with that either. You can take a basic expander. You can take the Golden Lion. You can take the Myrmecolion. You can take the Great White Bull. You could take an Immobile for a heavier bless if you wanted to, although I don't know really why you would want to. But actually, do they even have the Earth Snake? They do have the Earth Snake. Don't take the Earth Snake. Please, God, do not. And, oh yes, yeah, the Bronze Colossus also has full slots. I don't know what the fuck Ilwinter was thinking with this guy, to be totally honest. He's hilarious. This is by far the most... Like, I think this is just the most powerful chassis in the game, bar none. He's mindless, so he's immune to Soul Slay and stuff. He's inanimate, so you can't drain life. He's immune to everything. He's immune to everything, including damage, and elements, and he has full slots, so you can slap stuff on him to make him literally immune to Thunderstrike. And it's really funny. I mean, shit, I'm kind of tempted to just, like, take this guy and give him, like, a fire shock resist bless, just so he's literally unstoppable. And then, I don't know, what would I do with 4? Charged bodies. There we go. That's it. This is peak Bronze Colossus right here, guys. I mean, Shatter might work on him, assuming that you can survive being near him while he's casting, like, flying shards or something, like shotguns, directly into the crowd. But yeah, like, yes, there are, I exaggerate slightly, there are, of course, ways to kill him, but, it's hard. It's a challenge. Really it is. Like, he's by far the easiest to make close to invincible out of anything in the game. But yeah, the world is your oyster when it comes to Naba gods. I probably wouldn't take a Dominion 1 small person. Some of these here actually are pretty decent options. The Anunnaki of Growth and Rebirth automatically comes back every spring and has decent paths. The Illahats have good paths. The Illahat of Fate actually is kind of hilarious because it's just really high astral. Rovc, can you kill him with MR negate stuff? Really? He has base magic resistance 18 plus earth magic, so his base MR is actually 22. And then he slaps on a trinket, so now it's 26. It's gonna be challenging. Like, yes, if he's completely alone, you might be able to kill him with MR negate spells, but only a few MR negate spells work on him. Like I said, Soul Slay doesn't work on him because he's mindless. Disintegrate would work on him. Bone Melter would work on him, although Bone Melter wouldn't kill him, I think, because I think it does HP damage, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. It does 999. So yeah, Bone Melter would work. Disintegrate would work. Shatter would do damage. But honestly, there's just not a whole lot of options. Or if you don't want to do the Bronze Colossus, then like I said, you just take a basic expander. I think an expander for Naba probably is a decent idea, because their troops are good, but they're not fantastic at expanding. And the Camel Rider really needs to be massed up before it does really well. Now, once you have like 30 or 40 Camel Riders, yes, they will expand losslessly, because the Falcons will completely muck up whoever they try to fight. But it takes a few turns to build up that many. So that's Naba. Naba is pretty straightforward. Naba is just giants that are also elves. That's what they are. And they're a strong nation and a straightforward one. Unlike Ind, which is a strong nation and a hugely complex, weird one. Now, let's just glance briefly over the other changes, because in the latest patch that introduced Vettihime, we also had changes to all of the Niflheim nations. So first of all, they updated the sprites. Ooh, that's pretty cool. What else changed for Niflheim? I don't think anything changed for the Nifl Jarls. Yeah, Nifl Jarls are still what they were. So are Scrati. Oh yes, Herdalas. The Naba summons. Naba has a bunch of summons. God, I've been going for over 2 hours already. Let's talk about them real quick. Let's actually back up and talk about them real quick, because they are important. Naba introduced a new quality, which is that of I still have debug mod engaged. Naba introduced a new quality, which is invisible. When you're invisible, enemies have -10 to hit you until you've been hit for the first time. So, Naba can contact Jinn. Jinn are air fire mages who are ethereal, flying, and invisible. They can also summon Jinn warriors, who are also ethereal, flying, and invisible. You get 3 of them for 18 fire gems. This is actually a price increase. Jinn warriors are extremely powerful. Basically because they're almost impossible to kill, with even a minor bless. They're sacred, like I said, they fly, they have high stats, they're invisible and ethereal. So, first of all, you have -10 to hit them. If you do hit them, there's a 75% chance the hit will be ignored. If the hit's not ignored, they're still probably not going to take much damage from it. Of course, the invisibility does break at that point, but they're hard to get the initial hit on. And then you could do things like take a Twist Fate Bless. If you take a Twist Fate Bless, then the first time that happens, they will shrug the hit off anyway. So, Djinn Warriors, very, very powerful. You also have Summon Hin. The Hins are ethereal invisible, and they also have a heat aura. So the thing about Hins is, they will attack you, you will take some time trying to work through the invisibility to kill them, and in that time, you will pass out and be set on fire. Oh yeah, look, I was attacked, okay? Story time, and I don't know if you've seen this, because I forget if it's been on YouTube, but in Magnificent Kingdoms, I had a fort stormed by over 200 troops, including 90 Einhirs, 200 Vaettiheimish troops. I had 9 Djinn Warriors, and yes, they do have glamour, but the glamour doesn't activate until the invisibility is worn off. Anyway, I had 9 Djinn Warriors airdrop into the back of the line. They were completely surrounded by troops, mostly Einhirs, and I think one of them died through the course of the entire battle. It was bonkers. I did have a Twist Fate Bless. My bless was Twist Fate Regeneration, if I recall. It was kind of a shitty bless. I was trying to do something with the Jan Guard, but the Jan Guard aren't really strong enough to sustain it. But anyway, so they had a Twist Fate Bless, so the Einhirs, who were dropping dozens of attacks per round on them, just could not get through the invisibility to actually hurt them. It was amazing. It was hilarious. And I won the battle, despite the fact that he had, like I said, like 200 troops, including, it was mainly Einhirs and Hoberg crossbows. He had a bunch of mages supporting him, summoning air elementals and stuff. And then I had, basically, a bunch of mages, like 30 or 40 ogres, and the Djinn Warriors. And I cleaned the floor with him. Mostly because the Djinn Warriors attracted all the attention and just would not die. Since then, the spell has been increased in price. Still totally worth it. Absolutely summon Djinn Warriors. They are fantastic. Yes, Triff can confirm, because he was Vaettiheim. Other summons, I'm not going to go into detail on them. The Hori are, like, air nature mages. They're pretty solid. They have invisibility. They also have seduction, I believe. Marids are very, very powerful. They're basically Djinn, but they have every elemental path. And they're larger and more powerful in general. They have, like, I think they have, like, 2 or 3 in every element, including water. Yeah, they have water, fire, air, and earth, and it's like 3 in each, maybe 4 in fire, something like that. They're incredibly powerful mages. They only cost 66 gems. Once you get up to Conjuration level 8, yeah, you absolutely summon Marids. But they're a very late game summon. They're competing with the Elemental Royalty and stuff, and the Eater of the Dead, and King of Banefires, and all that stuff. So, yeah, the summons quite powerful. Hin are quite powerful and cheap, actually. Hin are very, very cheap. Djinn Warriors are expensive, but very powerful. And then you also have the Djinn Mages, which are excellent thugs, because they are sacred and invisible, and they fly, and they're stealthy, and they have glamour. So, these guys are like, for 18 fire gems, yeah, these guys are mental. Air 4, Fire 4, Earth 3, Water 2, Triff says. Yeah, that sounds about right. And yeah, they can just, they can forge Staves of Elemental Mastery. They can cast pretty much every elemental spell. Marids are really, really powerful. Just late game and expensive. Okay. Starting to hit the, starting to enter the end zone here. So yeah, Niflheim. Yes, there are unique blood summons that I'm not even going to bother talking about because you don't have any blood. You're not going to summon them. It's not worth trying to do so. Nifl Giants became larger and more expensive, I think. I feel like they used to be like 130 or something. Anyway, maybe this isn't correct. Nifls all swapped their vulnerability to fire over to vulnerability to lightning, which is, I think, actually kind of makes them worse, but to each his own. Nifl Giants remain basically Nifl Giants. Nothing major has changed for them. Nifl Jarls, similar. They got bigger, they have a lot of hit points, they got more expensive. 510 gold, I swear to God they were 400 and something before. 460, something like that. Anyway, they're priest level 2 now. Jotun Skrati also gained a priest level and became more expensive. So, Skrati are now 345 gold. But they're priests, so they can self-bless. Which is kind of hilarious. The Gigya stayed exactly the same for Niflheim, I believe. Jotun Jarls, Jotun Gods, all that stuff is the same. Jotun Scouts are still inexplicably sacred. Can anyone explain to me why this is? I really don't know why Jotun Scouts are sacred. There's no, like, explanation for it. They're just sacred for no reason. I mean, I guess, I suppose... I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, yeah, okay, hearses have some kind of religious authority, fine. Gods are priests, fine. Jarls are religious leaders, fine. But scouts? Why the fuck are scouts sacred? Yes, pathwise. That is the one thing that changed. They did get air on their 100% random. So Jotun Jarls, Nifl Jarls now have access to air regularly, which makes them much more useful because they can cast Personal Flight. Jotunheim, though, I think is the one that got the biggest change, because Jotunheim got a couple of things added and a couple of things buffed. So they've got Thrymsheim, so they now have access to the Thrymsgod, who is a capital only, like, he's clearly meant to be a thug. He's not, honestly, I would say, a very good thug. He's a decent leader. But the Thrymsgod he's got the ice protection, he's got cold power, he has chill, he's sacred and holy so he can bless himself. He's basically a smaller, shittier Nifl Jarl, pretty much. Jotun Skrati in this era are the same as they used to be. They lost the sacred again, they're back to 255 gold, they still have the same randoms, they actually gained, I think that random may have changed. No, that's the same random as it was. All this stuff over here is the same, I believe, including the Vettihime. However, in addition to the Thrymsgod, Jotunheim got the Enifort Gigya added. So this makes Jotunheim a much more powerful blood nation than it used to be, because the Gigya, of course, is a very good mage. 165 gold for 4 paths, all of which are sorcery paths. They can have Astral, they can get Death 2, Nature 2, or Blood 2. This is a very, very good mage. If Vettihime had this mage, I would be so fucking stoked. But unfortunately, it doesn't. So, that's not okay, I guess. And then they have the Jarnvidya, we talked about those. These just have 3 randoms instead of 2. Like, they're, instead of 1, rather. So, these Gigya have 1 random, these ones have 3, 165 gold to 350 gold, so they pay almost 100 gold per additional path. See a long-time lurker. They're less efficient, but they are quite powerful. Having 3 randoms out of those sorcery paths is going to make them pretty nightmarish. Also, they have a claw attack, which does 19 damage. Yikes. In addition to their slap. So they can claw you and then make you tiny for no reason. Other changes to Jotunheim. They've still got all this stuff over here. They've got the goblins. They've got their names changed. Jotun Bondi now, instead of Jotun Militia, I think it was before. Huskarls, Goda Huskarls. Spear and Javelin. These guys aren't bad, they're just expensive. And then you have the Ulfheden, which is the renamed Skin Changer, or Skin Shifter, with a spear now instead of an I think they used to have an axe, I think now they have a spear. And then you have the Thrymsherding, which are a capital-only sacred. They are essentially they're like the Thrymsgod. They're smaller, shittier Nifl giants. They have the ice protection, they have the chill aura, they have the cold resistance, the shock susceptibility rather. They are sacred, and they cost 100 gold. I don't think these guys are worth it, to be totally honest. Incidentally, Tiatsi is a national hero. Tiatsi the Abductor, he can turn into a giant eagle, he's pretty cool. Sturmrat, is this crossbreeding on them worth much? I mean, it's there, it's okay, but I wouldn't necessarily... Like, yes, it's useful. I don't know exactly how useful it is, but now that you actually have the Gigya to do blood hunting, you might see more of that from Jotunheim. Before that, you didn't really see a lot of crossbreeding out of Jotunheim because blood was much harder to come by on the nation. Yes, in cold, Thrimshjorting do end up with Prot 23, which is pretty cool. Now, do note, this is only Ice Protection 1. It's not Ice Protection 2, like the Rimvetti or whatever have. It's only Ice Protection 1, so their protection ends up being 22 or 23, I forget which is very good, yeah, absolutely. Also, their Chill Aura is only Chill 3, so they're actually not as cold as either the Rimvetti or the Nifl Giants, so early age and late age both have them beat in that regards. And then, so that's Jotunheim, that's the biggest changes. In the late age, I think Utgard is pretty much the same. Their Skrati got a little cheaper and a little weaker. They lost a water path, and they're only 220 gold, so they're a little bit less. Then you have the Garmherdings are the same as they used to be. They are still shock vulnerable. Everybody is. They've got the Gorihuskar, and yeah, that's about it. So, yeah, minor changes to Utgard, significant changes to Jotunheim, moderate changes to Niflheim, and, of course, the addition of Vettihime. And you know what? I really want to love Vettihime. I really do. They're just not super, super good. Like, fundamentally, Ilwinter keeps trying to make these nations that have, like, weak mage lines but strong troops to make up for it. And the problem they're running into is, strong troops don't make up for weak mages. Like, nations with strong mages are better than nations with strong troops, because strong mages can summon good troops, and they can compensate for bad troops, and they can do things that render troops irrelevant. But troops cannot compensate for weak mages, and they cannot create strong mages, and they cannot do things that compensate for weak mages. Like, troops are good and all, but fundamentally mages are where the game is won or lost. So, I would love it if what they're trying to do was possible, but I don't think it really is unless the game itself changes. Yeah, I mean, mages just beat troops. Now, yes, there is a spell now to summon Nifl Giants, but Utgard doesn't get it. I don't know if Jotunheim gets it. Vettihime gets it. And let me see if Jotunheim gets it. Jotunheim does get it. So if you've cast Ilwinter... also, Ilwinter now allows Jotun nations to recruit one Nifl Giant per turn in every fort. And it lets you cast Winter's Call, which summons a Nifl Jarl. So, Ilwinter is now a little bit more powerful. Incidentally, fun fact, what this means is, I know what the mechanism behind this is, allows recruitment of one Nifl Giant in every fort for Jotun nations. What this means is, all Jotun nations have the ability to recruit Nifl Giants, and they're set to a rec limit of 0, which makes them hidden. Now, what's funny about that is that in every age there is a nation which can change rec limits. And that is the Makone line of nations, because this line of nations has the spell Gigantomachia. Right? Are you still with me? Gigantomachia. Gigantomachia increases recruitment limits by +1. It increases all recruitment limits in Friendly Dominion by +1. So what this means is that if you play a Disciples game with a Makone line nation and a Jotun line nation on the same team, you can cast Gigantomachia, and it will enable the Jotun nation to immediately begin recruiting Nifl Giants. And then if they cast Ilwinter, they will then be able to recruit 2 Nifl Giants in every fort, because they're using the same mechanic behind the scenes. Fun fact, I thought you might like to know that. I personally think it's hilarious. In fact, In fact, Illwinter, given that they've changed that, Illwinter may actually enable you to increase the rec limit for Gigante Hoplites and Gigante Warriors and stuff, too. It might. I don't know about that part. I'm pretty sure about the first part. I don't know about that about increasing the rec limit for Gigante Hoplites. But I'm pretty sure that Gigantomachia will let you recruit Neefle Giants, because it just increases all the rec limits. And the only mechanism for allowing that that spell to function in that way, the only mechanism for it is the rec limit mechanism. Like, that's allows the recruitment of one Neefle Giant in every fort for Jotun nations. This is also how, because I know this because this is how the Laestrygonian troops work, and the Laestrygonian tyrants for Late Age Phlegra. They're always there, but their rec limit is 0. And then when in the capital, and then when the site changes, the site allows the rec limit to increase to 1, and so that's what lets you recruit them in the first place, that same rec limit mechanism. So this has now made that same mechanism available to the Jotun nations, which means that in Disciples games, you'll be able to manipulate that mechanism, and you should be able to let yourself recruit more giants than you ever thought was possible. But in any case, that is the new nations. They're interesting. I like Vettihime. I like Ind a lot. Naba, I like Naba fine. Naba is pretty simple. It could be the Neefle Giants are actually at -1 and Illwinter buffs it by 2. That's also possible. If that's true, then Gigantomachia wouldn't allow you to recruit them by itself, but if you stacked Gigantomachia and Illwinter, you would then be able to recruit 2 instead of 1. Ugh. Well, in that case, Gigantomachia would still do something, it's just it wouldn't be visible, and then when you could cast Illwinter second, and it would increase it by 2, and so then you'd be able to recruit 2, but I don't know. I haven't sat down for the very serious testing, I haven't proved it. But in any case, that, I think, is going to be the stream for today. I'm wearing out quick. I know it's a little early compared to when the other streams have ended, but I'm starting to flag, to be honest. It's all the continuous talking, which I have to do anytime I have Dominions up. Incidentally, if you're wondering why I talk so much on these streams, the last time when I played that just that a couple days ago, the Blitz game, I received 7 copyright claims on that video for the background music in Dominions. To be honest, it would probably be easiest if I just turned it off, but I like having it. I like having the background music. It just made me waste half an hour going through copyright claims, telling them each time, no, I'm allowed to do this, no, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to do this, no, I'm allowed to do this. So, in any case, I am a little worn out. I'm probably going to go get some dinner, and then I'll play my turns in the Dominions games that I'm currently playing, and then I'll probably jump into something new. I may have something new for you guys tomorrow, or, well, new for me, not new to the world, but there's some other games that I've been looking into that I think I'll be playing on the channel. So, thanks for watching me, for sitting through all my rambling, and helping me out dealing with these nations. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments once this VOD goes up on YouTube and I can talk about them, see about testing some things or answering some things. It should be a good time. I have to say, I really love this game. I'm kind of on the downslope of it right now. I'm not playing as much Dominions as I have in the recent past, but I'll be picking more of it up, and there will be more Dominions coming for years to come. So, thank you all, and I'll see you next time.